I don't know. These are things that we don't normally talk about. So
No, and there is an interest. I do have an interest, but I have found over time that getting into the nuts and bolts a lot of times will diminish my fondness for things.
oh, sure.
And so I just on and off. I mean, I'll deep dive into stuff, but not too often because right now I have a hard enough time motivating to read comic books as it is.
It's
So,
once you realize kayfabe's real.
yeah, I
It's
don't
just
want to
ruined it
know,
for me.
how dicky things really are, and yeah, I don't need any of that.
So that's the hello, Miss Moore.
Hi
Uh,
guys.
that's see, that's the thing that I really get into. I
Sure.
have wanted since I was a young kid. Like once I sort of, and I think it was because of the shop that I went to, Miss King. She wasn't afraid to tell you about things that are going on,
Mhm.
and sort of uh, publishers and those kind of things. So I kind of at an early age, and I say early, I guess it was 12, 13, 14 in that range. I mean, because when I first started shopping there, I was like 10. It didn't really
Mhm.
matter at that point. But just little things. I would hear her talking on the phone to her, distributor reps and stuff like that and everything. And so it's just those kind of things. And so I've always been interested in the nuts and bolts of the industry, the good and the bad.
Right.
Um, and so when I see like the Diamond Summit and everything, I pay a lot of attention to that just because I'm very curious on how how someone might be figuring out. I'm always looking for efficiencies, and so when someone figures out something that's worked for them, it may or may not work for somebody else, but at the
Right.
same time they have figured something out. And so is it, are other folks taking those elements, or at least the concept, and applying it to them, and this and that and everything, and how does it work out over the course of a couple of years, those kind of things. And it's why I'm always curious at like my office. I'm curious. I've always been curious since I started working there when I was like, early 20s, just sort of the ins and outs and how that industry works, the administrative side, the marketing side of it. Um, I just like the behind the scenes stuff that you don't, normally talk about, because I like statistics. I like looking at the analytics. I like understanding why things work and then how to be more efficient at them. Now, when it comes to the podcast, I sort of let that go willy nilly. But because if I get too far into the weeds on that, it'll hurt my
Y-
head.
Yep.
It'll lose the, like you said, it kind of loses the fun. So
It
I
does.
would much rather have a lot of fun doing the podcast
You know,
than
there
worry too much about it.
there's a lot to be said about doing certain things in ignorance.
Oh yes,
You
yes.
know, so
Hello, Doug. How are you, sir?
so the books that we read for tonight,
Mhm.
I dug probably more than I have dug books in a very long time.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot to say about him. I didn't know what I was going to say. So, and I
The
got reading of it. And I was like, oh man, this is a good idea.
the
I'm going
Kickstarter stuff is a roller coaster as far as quality,
yeah,
and I mean
yeah.
that has to be expected because, well, they went to Kickstarter.
Oh,
So,
sure. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say that as a pejorative, but more to say, they didn't go to Marvel or DC or
Hmm.
Dynamite or Boom, so
Yep.
it's, yeah, there must
Oh,
be
yeah.
a reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, again, some of these products could very easily wind up somewhere, and ultimately they often do. When
Yeah.
people mainstream publish them, they'll, although it's not biggies, it's Source Point Press and
Yeah.
some places like that.
Exactly.
Uh, but uh, you know, there are others that you're like, yeah, I can. No, don't take that to anywhere. You stay on Kickstarter. I
you're,
applaud you for the effort.
you're doing all right.
I'm never gonna say anything about that. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
as a 80 million year reader of comic books, I can tell you that that's not going to work.
It was a good effort. Good
Yeah,
effort.
yes, yes.
I
More
don't
effort
feel
than I've
bad.
done. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's
I feel like I never can be super critical on it because
it,
I've
it.
not made those
Yeah,
steps.
exactly. It's
So,
like I haven't even done that. So
like,
how
I'm a fan. It's all it is. I'm a fan of reading comics,
Yep.
and so yeah, good on you.
And
So
and for folks for creatives like that, they have to have that same knowledge because they've read books just like we have.
oh yeah, yeah,
And so, sometimes it's like d you understand this comparison, right?
yeah, yeah.
Please say yes, because if you don't, then, wow,
Yep. Well, no, I get it. All right, well, let's get going and
let's do
we'll
it.
have all the fun here. This will be an interesting episode for sure because no show notes. We're just going to fly free. All right,
That's it.
let's see, in three, two, one. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Comic Addiction. This is episode number 152. Climbing the numbers to two, whatever.
Yeah.
I am one of your hosts, Chris Parton, and with me, as always, is Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, how are you, sir?
Excited to be here this evening. Had
I
had a lot
know.
of fun.
So I'll be upfront with everybody, and I haven't said this to Ed.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what to do with comic addiction. Um, I love comics. I think Ed loves comics too. We both have our frustrations with them. We talk about that on the show quite often. Um, some of it has to do with the politics of it. Some of it has to do with the shipping part of it. Some of it has to do with just quality of comics in general, just the books themselves. So we kind of go back and forth. So the fate of the show has never been in question. Don't worry about that thing. That's not what I mean by not know what to do with comic addiction. But I want to make sure that when Ed and I get on the show, that we're excited about what we talk about. We may be talking about something that's bad, like we didn't enjoy something or didn't think something was good, but we're still passionate about what we want to talk about, really kind of get involved. Because if we just sit here and go, yeah,
Nah,
if we do that for an
it was
hour,
okay.
that's boring. So we want to make sure that we kind of keep things for us a little lively. That being said, we're also trying to make sure that we're keeping stuff lively for you guys and that we're not talking about the same thing that you can hear on any given podcast, on any given YouTube channel that talks about new comics and stuff like that.
The
So,
new hotness,
yeah.
yes.
And while we love that stuff too, I mean, it's just everybody else is talking about it. So we want to make sure that we give, um, I don't know, just a different perspective on other things that are happening in the industry. So that brings us to tonight's episode. So we are going to a thing that Ed and I talk about, especially in the last couple episodes. We'll hit on crowdfunding books. Ed reads and reviews a lot of stuff that he's gotten from Kickstarter and IndieGoGo and other crowdfunding stuff. So we want to make sure I want to make sure I feel a little left out because I've not really backed a lot because I've been burned a lot. And so I just kind of like I still have probably right now 5, maybe 6 books that are a year or
Wow.
more past their
Wow.
original like delivery date. Not when the campaign ended, but when they said, okay, we're gonna have the campaign's gonna end in January, we'll have the books to you in June. It's been a year plus since June, that whatever that date is. And there's a number of reasons. I don't, you know, I can't, I'm not involved in the making of stuff. I don't know what these people's lives are like. I just
Can I
kind of
immediately offer
sure. Yeah,
advice?
you can yeah, go right
Something
ahead.
something that I seldom do
Offer
is
advice.
yeah, I do not support big name creators on Kickstarter.
Okay.
That is I'm not really sure why I have never done that, but with a few exceptions, Berserker being maybe
Yeah,
one of the very, very few
I was
examples
going to
of
say.
me doing that. The books we read for tonight, what
Yeah.
and the other 3 or 4 that I've talked about from this same company,
Hmm.
and one, let's see, let me look at the screen here. Um, Now, 1, 2, arguably, of the Kickstarters that I sent you, you could say are big name creators. At the very least, they're going to be from known
Right.
quantities.
Yes.
But far and away, I have never. I don't pay attention enough to know that all of these stories that I have read that I really dug, wow, they all turn out to be written by these 2 writers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I always follow what these 2 writers do. I've
Hmm.
never gotten to that point in all the years that I've read comic books. I pick it up, I read, I read the creators because it's in my head. I can make connections. Oh yeah, didn't they write this or
Hmm.
draw that or but as far as the fact that I liked it, it didn't stay with me other than I really liked Title XYZ.
Right.
Black Badge. I really
Hmm.
liked Black Badge from Boom, although I will say that I have followed that writer-artist team through several other books.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not the only
Be
one. Yeah.
because of the art, though, that's usually what triggers me is
Hmm.
art. That seems to stick a lot more than, methods of writing. Even
Right.
even now, I don't know that I can necessarily sit down and explain to you uh, the 5 base tenets that this writer uses
Hmm.
anytime they write. I don't but now art, when I like it, I will recognize it from then on when I
Oh, yeah.
see it anywhere,
Yeah.
and that will probably trigger me to buy a book, and then I look and I'm like, "Oh, well, that was the dude that wrote this dude's art the last time on this," that
Hmm.
way, but yeah, big name creators, my thinking is if it's a big name creator and they wanna do something, they'll do it out in the big world. They
Sure.
don't need to come to Kickstarter except for a particular reason.
Okay.
And usually, um, I believe that a lot of times that reason is masturbatory, if nothing else.
Hmm.
They just want to do it to themselves for themselves because they can,
Yeah.
and that's which is fine. That's I guess that's what Kickstarter's for. Not necessarily in my mind, but um,
This
uh,
coming from the guy who backs Brian Pluto's
well, yeah, there you
Call
go.
from Comics. So.
That's because nobody else will have him, man.
Right. Well,
He's
yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
he's too rock and roll. It's
In a publisher point of view, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
which is interesting because somebody like Jim Ballant,
Yeah.
who in my mind is pretty much cut from the same cloth
Yeah.
as Brian Polito. But he's I don't think well no, he does stuff on Kickstarter, but it's not his bread and butter. He
Right.
still has his own company that publishes
Yes.
his one book basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but every
Tara.
now and then he'll come to Kickstarter.
Yeah, and he does. Yeah, not to go way off on a tangent, but he does do one shots and stuff. But all of them are kind of in the tarot,
Yeah,
mythos.
they stay there.
His is Holly his wife?
I
I
think
think
so.
so.
Go
So
lightly.
she does. Yeah, so she does sort of her own stuff too on this. I don't want to say on the side. It's just in addition to.
Mhm.
Um, she's got her own stuff, and I know a lot of that gets sold through their website and through Diamond, I think,
I
through a distributor and stuff like that. But there are a couple things that they've done on Kickstarter. I know they've had something recently on Kickstarter.
Yeah, and that's why he came to mind is
Yeah.
because, yeah, I know in the past little bit I've seen something from him. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm on their mailing list, so I get an
Oh,
update
okay.
like every other day, so or something to that effect. I don't. I've never bought one of his comics since he left mainstream comics,
Right. No, neither have I.
but he still sort of fascinates with both of them. Do they fascinate me? Because one, by all by all means, what I can tell online, two of the nicest people in the world.
Mhm.
And I have had years ago, very brief interaction with Holly online
Oh,
about stuff. Just like for a couple days, we passed a couple messages back and forth about some
mhm.
stuff, and um, super nice lady.
Cool.
And so I just signed up for their mailing list just to kind of keep in sort of in that circle, so I knew what they were doing. But yeah, I mean, definitely one of those guys who does not need mainstream comics to keep him supported. He's got his fan base and a lot
It
of Kickstarter, a lot of crowd
Yes.
funding stuff. That's what it is. It's they have their built-in audience. And yeah, obviously they would like it to grow as much as anybody.
Right,
Um, but they do have their audience. And so like, for me, I'm a big Paper Films fan.
right.
I back nearly everything, if not everything, that Palmiani and Connor put out, through Kickstarter. Now they've switched things, around a little bit. So they're not doing stuff solely on Kickstarter, which makes me sad. But it is what it is. So they're trying this thing out. I think it's Zap or whatever. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, related to the newsletter
Yeah, whatever.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing comics through that now for a year or two or something like that. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
so but either way, it's the same. I feel like it's the same thing. The two of them have done you still do mainstream
Mhm.
comic work, but at the same time, this is their main bread and butter.
Right, they have that fan base that they
Yep.
know they can turn to and rely on to
Yep.
get the kind of funding that they need, either to do stuff, to live, to
Yep.
why ever they need the funds, but they know that there is this core group of people that they can turn to and say, "Okay, guys, this time," and they're like, "Yeah, okay, send it, and here's my
Yep.
money, and,
And they
we're good."
deliver every
Yeah.
time. On time. So, all right. So, what we now keep in mind, I would be upfront with everybody. The books that we're going to talk about tonight are books that were sent to us.
Yes.
I know Ed has backed a number of G-Man comics in the past on Kickstarter, so it's not like he's inexperienced as far as it goes with them and their campaign. So you can talk a little bit about that, at
Okay.
some point in or now if you want. But we are going to talk about Simon and Kirby, the Agent, number 1 through 4. Um, each These 4 issues came out in late 2020 through Kickstarter. And so G-Man Comics, I guess their entire line of comics is published through Kickstarter.
I believe so, yeah.
So we got an opportunity to Rick over there at G-Man sent us the stuff to let us take a look at. And so we felt kind of, we were kind of discussing like we really just felt like, yeah, we really need to sort of dive into this stuff. And you've talked about the other G-Man comics here on the show,
Mhm.
and it sounded like you've enjoyed them. So
Yeah.
I felt like it was a good opportunity for us to sort of like dedicate a whole episode to it. And we talk about a series, and then we can kind of see where the conversation goes from there.
What really comes to mind, what I can't say initially because, of course, I didn't know upfront that I was going to like the books. I was
Right?
going to like what they were
Exactly.
doing. There was just something about what they said on Kickstarter that just piqued my interest, and that
Hmm.
was the start. But I will say, having read several of their books, I've read about half of their books, and after reading tonight, I may just binge the rest of what I have from them this weekend and just. But you know how like where do you see it a lot? You see it a lot in the NFL. Chris, you follow the NFL?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. When a team, well, no, I'm sorry. They talk about this in NHL news coverage as well. That what a team needs to do. A team is struggling, and they don't. Nobody, well, nobody on the outside seems to know why. They've got the
Hmm.
stars, they've got the past performers, they've got the new hotness in the draft. I mean, they've got everything for them, but they're under 500 halfway through the season and nobody can figure it out. And somebody somewhere will bring up the concept of, well, we just need to simplify things.
Hmm.
That is what this world that they're putting together feels like to me. Now, part of that could be that I have read about them for the past 18 months, okay,
Right.
not 18 years. But I still can't help but get the feeling as I read that they have just taken from their experience of reading comic books those elements that they like, and that is what they work with.
Hmm.
There doesn't seem to be as much extraneous stuff inserted into the books as there are for Marvel and DC books, let's say. Now, this is a company that's maybe 3 years old at the oldest, probably 2
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah. Seems like that. Yeah.
Unlike, companies that are eking up on 100 years of publishing history. So you have continuity, and here, of course, in the past, I don't know, 20 years or so, continuity has gotten to be a big issue with,
Hmm.
particularly with fans. Um, and so, somebody like G-Man Comics, they don't have that continuity because they just haven't had the time to build it up yet.
Yeah.
But what did how did you what were your initial impressions after you read these 4 books? And you I know you sat back and you just took a minute and just, let me digest what all that. What were some of your initial thoughts about how these 4 books felt?
So the first thing that came to my mind was that I was very glad that I read them.
Okay.
Because I think something that I sort of miss about comics is just, like you said, the sort of the simplicity of storytelling at times. Like I get like I'm a big Spider-Man fan,
Okay.
big Batman fan. Those characters have had, decades on decades of complexity added to their somewhat simplified story.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
over the over time, it just gets very complex. And for me, it's easy to kind of sort things because I've been there a lot of the time. Um, but someone new coming into these comics looks at sort of the simplicity of it and then gets thrown into one or two issues and is like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. What I got out of this was there is a world that has been built sort of in the background, and instead of trying to feed it to a new reader with a fire hose, they're just sort of, all right, this is the story we're going to tell right now. It's a fairly linear, very sort of, and I say simple, not as like it doesn't have depth to it or anything like that. It does, but it's not overwritten. It's not heavy dialogue. It's not heavy introspection
Right.
or anything like that. It's just the guys over at iFanboy have this thing called the Gosh meter, the good old superhero book rating is what they give it. Um, and that was kind of how I felt when I got to the end of this. This was just a good old
So,
superhero story.
so they had high gosh ratings.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so when I got done with it, that was actually the first thing I really thought. I was like, this is something that personally I feel like that was just kind of the superhero comic I miss reading.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was like, I would I'm kind of upset that back in early 2020 I didn't back these books, but I
Right.
didn't even know anything about them back then. And so I feel like, oh, I really kind of wish. I mean, yes, we were given digital copies of these things, but I
Right.
kind of
But
want the hard copies. I kind
yeah.
of want to have the books in my collection because these are the kind of books I want to have in my collection,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, you're right. The other stuff that we've got, like uh I Well, and we'll get into it more when we talk about the books, but just the simple stuff like the handbook entries and stuff in the back of each
at the
issue.
yes, that was
That's
that
so
was
good.
yes, that was so much fun. I was like, that is how you do it because here this person is and there and 4 panels and then it's you're like,
Yep,
"Well, who is it? Can is there any more information about that one?" Sure
right.
enough, you go to the back and there's that Ohatmu entry
Yep.
for that character. And yeah,
Well, and the
that
thing
was
is,
awesome.
so I pulled up the Kickstarter or on the Kickstarter website, I pulled up the the page for the first 2 issues because this was done in issues 1 and 2 were in a Kickstarter together, and 3 and 4 were done in a Kickstarter
Mhm.
together. You could get the printed copies of 1 and 2 for $10
Okay.
plus shipping, I'm sure.
Right, yeah.
And there were 3 people that backed that. Everybody wanted, um oh, I'm sorry, it's either or, I'm sorry. I was like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense now," but that makes more sense now. Because the next thing was $20 for 2 issues, and they had, way more people that were doing that. Okay, so $20 for 2 issues. I don't know if that includes shipping or not. Um, but at the same time, this is each issue is little about 30 pages or
Mhm.
more. So, and then you get the handbook stuff and everything in the back. Um, but I felt like, for that amount, I wouldn't that most of the stuff that I've backed in the past, if it's a single issue, I have a problem backing a 30-page comic or 22-page comic or whatever, for more than $10. I get the
Right.
$10 thing. That's not I don't blink at that very often. Um, but yeah, anything more over that, I really have to start looking at page
Yeah,
count.
you have to yeah.
So I
What
was
else
like,
do I get? Is there something else there?
but I
Yeah.
do think that's a nice, that's a nice little price point for this. But yeah, no, I really felt like when I got done, I was like, oh, this was a good comic. I'm really happy that I read this. I
Yeah.
think that's all that I mean, any creative team, that's all they're wanting is just for you to enjoy it and want to come back and read more. So why overcomplicate a new property with, oh my god, I've got to give you all of this backstory and all of no, a couple handbook, entries is all I really need. Thanks.
Yep.
Now, younger readers, I mean, let's be honest, the 2 of us have been around for a while reading
Right.
comics, so we're used to, official handbook style stuff and everything, and so if that's what we're gonna get, that's what we're gonna get. The toys that we grew up with, GI Joe figures and stuff like that, had those data cards
Had
on the
on
back
the
of the
back.
figures,
Yep.
so we're used to that kind of thing. Younger readers, like we'll use my son as an example, may not be as keen to that and feel like that's sort of like they just kind of breeze past it or whatever. So, maybe. But at the same time, I do feel that they didn't overdo it with these issues. They gave you a um pretty linear, pretty understandable story and gave a lot of characters. I mean, obviously, this is the agent's book, so he's going to be the lead throughout the entire thing. But I never felt that any character that was part of the G Man or the Cape um, uh, program or whatever got sort of second fiddle to him when they showed up.
Right.
Everybody was pretty equal, and we got a lot of screen time with a lot of them. Not all of them. Some of them only showed up for a little bit. You got sort of a splash page kind of introduction to some of them, but you did get the handbook entry at the back, so you got to know who they are.
In this book, now you go to the 3 in 1
Yeah,
or the United issues, and a lot of those characters are the feature for a story in
yeah,
those. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's, and their sequence of books, Simon Kirby was the first book that they put out.
yeah,
The 3 in 1 3 and 1, I believe, was the second, and then the United was the third.
So it looks like the first Kickstarter they did was the issue 1 and 2 of Agent. Second
Kirby,
one
right?
had Kirby number 3, G-Man Comics 3 and 1 number 1, and then
Okay.
G-Men United number 1. So it had a
So
nice sort of selection of books in that
right.
one. And then you got to their next Kickstarter, which
Next one,
had issue 4 of The Agent, issue 2 of 3 and 1, and issue 2 of United.
right?
And I like the fact that they did that too. That they're able to have, because I don't know how many how many folks they've got working on these books, but it does give the creative team for each book sort of time to work on their issue,
Right.
instead of like, oh my god, I got to get 2 issues done for this and be super late and all this other stuff. So
It's very much, their Kickstarters remind me very much of the, Marvel, movie TV phase system.
mhm. Yeah.
Each Kickstarter is the next phase, so
Yep.
they're up to, like, the most recent one was a Christmas issue and an issue, focusing on a duo that I spoke of called Lynx.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just those 2 books, but the one before that had 5 books,
Yeah.
and I think the one before that had 5 books.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
it's
they had a couple big ones, and then they're like, "Okay, let's catch our breath for a minute and
yeah.
offer just these 2." Now, I had noticed, going to their website, they're planning a pretty substantial drop in February, I think is what I keep seeing as the
Oh,
next date.
I didn't look on their site yet.
Yeah, another, like, 4 to maybe 6 books in the next Kickstarter package.
Nice. Well, I
So
already know I'll be back in that, so I'm not worried
oh,
about that.
it's okay. So, we read the first 4 issues, and actually there's only 5 issues. Yeah, there's only 5 issues out.
Yeah.
So, we're not that far behind as far as Simon Kirby. Um, from G-Man Comics, Simon and Kirby the Agent. So let's get into those a little bit
Yep.
since
Let's do
we've
that.
played around back and forth somewhat.
Yeah.
So Simon Kirby is he is Nick Fury. Let's say if we're gonna try to describe what he does, he is a military man who worked for the CIA, but was good enough upstairs, and also they felt that he was going to be good enough for a project by which I believe, and I don't know that this directly came out, but I believe he's been enhanced.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, I don't, to me, it wasn't necessarily that obvious because he also wears a protective outfit. So,
Oh, okay. Well, you're right, and they do make a point of saying that that suit or that armor was developed by somebody. So yeah,
but
could
I
be.
think he physically has been enhanced too. There was like a panel or two where he went back in his mind, or when I think in this one of the segments where the Dr. Bones was messing with his memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there was something alluding to the fact that he was also enhanced, but not like super mega like Captain America or the Hulk or anything like that, but just some.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but he was, and he took over this project whereby, and I like the way he put it. If you're a superhero in the United States, you work for me.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like,
It's
kind
just
of
understood.
the superpower imminent domain kind of thing. It's like,
Yes.
no, if I need you, I will call you. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
And
Don't worry about it.
there are, through these 4 issues, there are at times a couple superheroes that are like, man, this sucks.
Mhm.
But they also recognize that they have to do it. It's like they're,
Yeah.
by agreeing to be a superhero, by being superhero-y, well, you put
Yeah.
yourself on the radar and they might call you to help. And
Right, and there's a registration act of some kind,
mhm, yeah.
that's how they have access to all these. people as well too.
Yeah. So what happens ultimately is when uh, uh, oh, I was going to try to say the tagline for the Avengers, but I forget exactly what it is. But when things develop too much and a group of people is needed,
Yeah.
Kirby just enlists people. Basically,
Hmm.
it's like the Avengers communicard. I would imagine he just like buzzes you, and
Yep.
when you get buzzed,
You
you
got to
go.
answer. Yep.
You know where you have to be, when you have to be, and everything like. And you're uh, recruited. You serve your time, which
Hmm.
typically it seems is that one mission,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you come home and you go on about your life until the next call.
Yep.
And sometimes the calls are related to area,
Yeah.
those nearby. Sometimes they're related to what you can do. And at times a mix of those two things as well. So you're always they're always going to be led by Kirby. He is the office leader, but he's also the field general,
Hmm.
and so that's why, um, not why, but that's how the fact that this is his book ties into the rest of this stuff. Is
Yeah.
that the book centers on him, but he is from the very beginning a cog in a machine, and
Yeah.
you get to see at times where that entire machine gets engaged. But you also have those smaller moments where the story focuses on him and particularly what's going on in his head.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a whole lot of, although in the fourth issue there was some
It was
fourth
quite a bit. That was the
or
third issue. We got quite a bit.
with the was it the third issue when he brought home a date?
No, that was the fourth issue.
Fourth
Yeah.
issue, okay, and he also went fishing with one of his
Yeah.
buddies in the fourth. So that was, although it was centered on him, it wasn't all about him. It wasn't one of these really deep character development kind of stories.
Hmm.
It was, again, a lot simpler. A couple buds, one of them maybe against his will, planned a fishing trip and they went fishing.
Yep.
You know, and of course that wasn't the only thing that happened. It is a
I was gonna
superhero
say it
comic book
wasn't
after all.
exactly what went down, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
how it
it's,
started.
yeah, it's how it started. Um, so yeah, definitely these four issues, and I meant, but I just didn't leave myself enough time to go pull the fifth issue. I know I have it back there,
Okay.
back on, back on the other side of that wall back there. Um, and I think I read it um, before, because this is really the first time that I'm almost positive that I read these four issues. So I read the fifth issue, and I remember thinking I want to get the others, but
Mhm.
you can't really find a way online to buy their back issues.
Oh, so
I
they don't have them on their website?
No,
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know. I looked at Indie Planet, because that's a big, well, indie printing place
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people put stuff up, and they have some stuff unrelated to the stuff that Rick sent us, and a preview for the priest and the red demony looking kind of nun that we saw in the one
Oh,
issue.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, they have a preview of a book for them,
Okay.
15 issue preview. Actually, that you can order. At least you can order the digital for free. I don't know
Hmm.
if you can get it printed for free. Probably not. You definitely have to pay shipping and handling, but you can download a digital version of that for free. Um, yeah, completely lost my train of thought. So I must have read that fifth issue uh, by itself, but yet I don't remember it now that I've read these four to connect the two
Right.
to see what happened, because the fourth issue that pretty much felt like the end of that story. Those four issues, even you can, well, no, yeah, the fourth issue. I was going to say you can say that it ended with the third, but no, because the reason for the uh, bad guys was still part of that main storyline in the fourth
Yeah.
issue. So
Yeah.
all of these were at least one story. And the way that they're written, I'm sure the fifth one connected somehow, but I don't recall. It's been too long since I read that book. It's probably been 6 months, 8 months since I read
Mhm.
that. So, um, but you go ahead and talk about it for a little while.
We'll go ahead and creative team on it. Rick Offenberger is the writer. He's also the editor in chief of G-Man Comics, and he's the gentleman that sent us these books. Art is by Gilbert Monsanto for this first issue, and then there's a different artist on the other issues, 2 through 4. It's Alan Faria. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. And then we have Eric N. Bennett on letters, and script editor is Lou Mugen. I think that's it. And then Jim Burrows is the production editor. So not a ton of people working on this, particular book. As far as this other issues, I think it's the same creative team other than the artist. So the first issue is just that, sort of gives you a lowdown of who Kirby is, how he became, the agent, and sort of how he works with folks. This issue kind of gives you a quick rundown of who uh, the whole Cape. I forget what exactly it is. The Cape program, which is basically his ability to call on any superhero to do missions, and much like Ed said, some almost against their will, but they just know that that's just part of the gig now. And so it shows just sort of a quick mission, and then sort of the bigger story is dealing with this Aryan alliance. We're straight up in the Nazis in the first issue.
Yes. Who are the
And
bad guys?
yeah,
Nazis.
there's no question about who the bad guy. There's no, well, it's a misunderstanding. Not straight up Nazis. Uh, so so you definitely know who the good guys are. You definitely know who the bad guys are. There is no question whatsoever. If you think there's a question about who the good guy and the bad guys are, maybe this isn't the book for you.
Yeah, this probably isn't your kind of book. So yeah.
So, but this is where the sort of bigger story for the whole series is this Aryan group, and they're not only of who they are, sort of who runs them, who works alongside them, those kind of things. And so they definitely use these issues to sort of expand on that, as well as bringing in other characters, villain characters, to sort of round out all of that stuff. So everybody's working with or alongside of the Aryan Alliance, so you definitely know that they're all the bad guys. So there's no question. But yeah, I mean that's sort of the gist of the first issue. It's sort of the agent and the G-men sort of uh, getting their first. I don't know if it's our first contact with the Aryan Alliance, but they discover, because they kind of felt like, oh, they're coming to Fort Knox, to steal the gold and everything. And they're like, oh, we got this, no big deal. There's no way they're going to have enough men to not just beat us, but beat the army that is at Fort Knox. And then they bring in these giant robots who they shouldn't have access to, and so that sort of brings in again the bigger story that's going on through these issues. Who is supplying them, who is funding everything, and what's the bigger plan. So this particular issue, I mean, it was a good introductory issue. I felt, like I said, when I got to the end of it, I was kind of like, oh, this is something I'm pretty interested in. I wasn't 100% sold on the art. I was, it's one of those things where I sort of put it at, um, I was not a big fan of J. Scott Campbell when Gen 13 came out. I felt his art was, and I think that was really his first published art. But I just didn't dig the style. But I could see I could see sort of the core of what his style is. It just wasn't honed in yet. And I kind of feel that with this art here. I can definitely see the sort of the bones of what could be some really good pages down the road. someone who can, I mean, definitely as far as like or page construction, panel construction, those kind of things, it's all good. Posing is great, choreography is great. All of that stuff is really good. It's just sort of the finer detail of the art itself, just not my favorite because um I do think there's the potential there. I need to look a little more into him to see what else he's done, to sort of compare and contrast. But I wasn't super excited for the art. But it was serviceable for what was being done in this issue. Coloring is really good. I think that sort of helped out some of the line work and everything. Um, Whoever, and I'm assuming it was Monsanto doing the coloring as well because it just has artist. That top notch. I was all on board with that. But all in all, for a first issue, really, I felt it was really good. Set up everything the way I liked it. I knew who everybody was. No one was sort of there wasn't a bunch of clones of each other running around like I have no idea who this guy is. No, I knew who everybody was, which is great. I love getting into a first issue of something I have no clue what it is, and within a few pages, going, all right, I know who everybody is. As far as like I can distinct who they all are, so
Right.
so I enjoyed it.
Looking at the encyclopedia, whatever you want to call them, entries. What did they call the book? They just call it handbook, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Handbook. Yeah, the handbook entries in the back. Something to notice is that some of the characters um, are titled just the name of the character. Some of the characters are the creator's name of the character. Like the very first one is Leon Mallett's Ace. Now, there's you that may not strike you, but I know for a fact that the character Spider Squirrel, who appears in this issue, is listed as Charlie McElvey's The Spectacular Spider Squirrel.
Mm.
He has a series of books on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these other characters that have a creator's name, I don't recognize that I have seen them yet, perhaps. But I do like the fact that other people's characters are being used in the book,
Yeah,
pretty much. I take that to mean that they weren't created by him, that either he is friends with somebody or they asked, hey, can you use my character or so and so? And so they're in the book because in each of these first 4 issues of Kirby, there is at least one character that has a creator's name attached to it.
yeah,
And then all the others are, I would presume, Offenberger or his creative companions characters for this
yeah,
universe. So whether or not these other creators' characters continue to be used in this remains to be seen. I know that the only example that I have to work off of is the Spider Squirrel character. He does appear in another one of these 4 issues, but not extensively throughout. And I will say for the record that the Spectacular Spider Squirrel book has my all-time current favorite character, Trash Panda.
oh yeah.
Is his companion. Trash
I
Panda
remember
is
that now. Yeah.
yes, he is awesome. And actually, in the third issue, this most recent issue of the Spectacular Spider Squirrel, there was half the book, or maybe 2/3 of the book, devoted just to him and his story, and
Nice.
giving you some behind the scenes in his head. But so I know that that character is appearing elsewhere on Kickstarters. I would presume that the potential is there for others, but like I said, I don't recall just off the top of my head seeing these characters that, oh yeah, I remember seeing that Kickstarter. So
Yeah. Yeah.
plus with as many of these G-Man as I've backed, and the Kickstarter emails that you get, which now that is something that I will say I have a problem with Kickstarter, or I have a problem with the way creators use it. Say you have backed 3 of their projects.
Right.
You
Oh
will
yeah, yeah.
get an email about their new project
From each.
through each of those accounts. And I'm
Yep.
like, no, look, if I want to follow you, I will.
Oh yeah,
Don't bash me over the head with it.
yeah,
And the more projects they do when the new one comes out, the
yep,
more emails you get about it. It
yeah.
doesn't cut off. It's
I've
like
gotten
for every
hit
one
by
that you've
that.
backed,
Yeah,
I'm like, quit. Um,
and you can't
so
get off. You can't get off that mailing list either.
yeah,
That's the
no,
thing. You've already
no,
backed it, so you're
yeah,
part of the
that's it.
list.
Although I haven't tried to. I guess you can't block any of them because they all come from Kickstarter. So you would end up probably blocking all of
Yeah,
your Kickstarter emails if you did that. Um, a couple of these characters, particularly, or not particularly, but even in this first issue, I would be interested in further projects with them if they are going to be coming down the road because they do interest me, which as much as we've gotten is on the surface.
yeah.
They interest me. Uh, Mike Dashanias's Commando, for
Hmm.
instance, he kind of interests me. So um, Spider Squirrel, which I caught on to, and I've been supporting him anyways. But he's very much like a Spider Man
Yeah.
kind of character. But
I do want to take just a side note because I didn't pay attention to the entry until I didn't pay attention to the entry until now. I read it, but I just kind of skimmed over it. I totally missed until the fourth issue what Sergeant Flag's real name is. Rob McFarlane. And
there
I
you
just and
go.
I just
Uh
went,
huh.
okay, I totally get it. That's
Yeah,
I was
there
like,
you
all
go.
right. Because he calls him McFarlane in the fourth issue, and I'm like, all right, I don't really see why you would call him McFarlane because McFarlane that's not a style. And then it was like Rob, and I was like, never mind, I get it.
Yep. Yeah.
I see what you're doing. Okay,
I,
cool.
I was going to make a crack when you were talking about the art about feet, but I just couldn't come up with
Ah,
anything.
don't
So
do that.
I just let that go. Yeah.
Don't lower yourself.
Which I don't agree with at all, guys. So
Right.
just so that we
I
know,
hope not. Jeez.
no, there's a lot about uh, Rob that annoys me. I listen to his podcast every time it comes out. I don't know why I do if he annoys me, but I do. But his artwork I can appreciate for what it is and what
Yeah.
it. More importantly than what it is, I can appreciate for what it did.
Yeah.
Its place in history.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of other artists are better. For generations, there have been better artists than Rob Liefeld. Yes. Um, were they responsible for million plus unit moving? I don't know.
Mm.
You know, say what you want, but people bought dude's books.
Yep.
However bad his art was, people bought his books.
Yeah, they did.
I've, I've said it on here before. So it's like, oh yeah, but he can't. Well, maybe he can't, but a lot of people did not have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I, I
exactly.
mean, what else do you say about it?
Yep.
So okay, want to move to the next one?
Yeah, let's go jump over there.
Okay, so
Murder Hornet.
uh, good name, by the way.
I love
Good,
that name.
good name. So this second installment of the story, we start to see a little bit more of the what's going on behind the
Yes.
scenes. Still very much um, Aryan. I don't know that you can necessarily continue to call people on up the chain Nazis. Maybe more fascist is what they would be rather than Nazis. But
Mhm.
those ground soldiers that we saw in the first issue, they had paraphernalia that had stylized swastikas on
Yeah.
them. I
Yeah.
mean, they were Nazis. There's
Yeah.
no, uh, but you move up into the offices and into the boardrooms and whatnot, and yeah, I don't know that Nazi is really the accurate description for what they are. Um, there's better one word descriptors if that's what you want to use, to describe the people that we're starting to see. The reason I bring that up is because the Hornet character, uh, they play, although it's not quite as straightforward. It's a little, honestly, a little bit more confusing than the way. Marvel did Iron Man. We knew that Tony Stark was the man in the armor. Well, and now, of course, everybody knows, or do they? Or maybe they forgot, but they'll be talking, whatever they're doing. But the Hornet character, it is the man that is ultimately in charge, as far as we know, of what's going on. But he has had 2 other people assume that armor as well, depending on what he's doing. Well, I won't say in this issue, because actually I think that's in the next issue. But we're exposed to, and I keep forgetting his descriptor. What is it? Murder
Hornet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Murder Hornet. He seems to be on patrol when we first see him.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Later on in the story, he is detained and questioned by the authorities, including Kirby. And he has a story for why he was there. I suspect that he was still just on patrol, because he is, turns out, very much, he's, I don't know that you could even call the character an anti-hero.
No.
He has this belief that you deter breaking the law by punishment that makes you not want to break the law again.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, there was a movie.
It's a Judge Dredd kind of approach.
Kind of. A movie comes to mind that had John Travolta and it had Hugh Jackman in it, where Hugh Jackman was a computer hacker.
Oh, yeah.
And Travolta got him to be part of a team. But Travolta said, as far as dealing with terrorists, that, actually, Sean Connery said this along the same lines in The Untouchables, also about the Chicago way, that if they kill one of yours, you kill 10 of theirs.
Right.
If they bomb a building, you bomb a city block. It's basically, your deterrent is to make it so painful that they don't want to cross you.
Yeah.
And that's the way, that's Murder Hornet's thinking. In the next issue, I believe, we see why he feels that way. He's got kind of I it's kind of not fair to compare parts of these stories to other comic books.
Oh,
but
sure.
I'm doing that to try to be succinct in how I describe them, because I assume that people understand the allusions that I'm using, as I prepare to use another one, in that the Murder Hornet has very much a Batman kind of origin, as far as why he thinks the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Batman doesn't go around breaking the arms and legs of people, of kids who steal beer,
right?
Like the Murder Hornet does. But that's again his.
I'm sorry, if you see the Murder Hornet coming towards you.
Oh well.
I mean, the fact that his name's Murder Hornet would make me go, you know what? Maybe here's the beer. I'm sorry.
Well, even you could tell, even the shopkeeper was not pleased with, this is what the dude did to get his beer back.
Yeah.
But yet he was running after the kids, yelling and screaming for him to come back. And I thought, well, dog, if you do the one, the other is possible.
Yep.
Especially nowadays, when everybody has a gun that has a badge and they like to fire the weapon.
Yep.
You have no idea what's going to happen. Were introduced. No, I think they appeared in the previous issue, but in a battle montage.
Yeah.
This is one of the books I have talked about, the character or characters Lynx. And Lynx is both apparently singular and plural, because it's 2 people, each goes by that name, but the duo goes by that name as well. So
Hmm. I kind of like
links can
that.
be one or the other or both. You don't know, and they seem to be involved romantically, male and female. Um, Interesting characters. You can see that they take off on some concepts that we're familiar with as comic book readers, other characters and whatnot. Well, I mean, all of these characters are derivative. I don't care.
Well, yeah, they're
You
from
know,
some sort of archetype. Yeah.
yeah, everything goes back to someone somewhere. Um, so they confront Murder Hornet, and he confronts them back rather violently, which is
Right.
his ilk. It's so their confrontation is pretty short lived because one of them becomes rather severely injured. And here is the one half of the priest disciple duo that I said they had the preview book for.
Hmm.
The dude here behind, standing in the lighted doorway, that's the demon priest. That is who the preview book is available for.
Okay.
And this is his. I'm not sure what her relationship is, but uh, in the story that we're looking at, guys, the demon priest is supposed to be, from what I read, a fallen angel, but he
Mhm.
appears like a demon, and so I'm kind of confused. Whereas this assistant of his has the ability to heal, has wings like one would presume an angel is going to be depicted, but she's reddish toned with horns on her head,
Yeah.
which is more of the demonic um, way that they're drawn in popular culture.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what else going on with that. It does interest me. I am uh, fallen angels, uh, beneficial demon stories, and you put the two together,
Mhm.
always intrigue me. Being raised and currently calling myself a Christian, that usage of my religion in that way, I find interesting, and it always attracts my interest.
And then you throw a Western and a samurai in there,
Heck,
and you
yeah, you've got
you
a
you've hit all your
yeah. I'm
checked
like,
all your boxes off.
Here's my wallet. Just send me the book. Yeah.
No, but
um.
I do like the fact that we're getting these sort of introductions to these characters
Mhm.
away from, Kirby. We're I mean, this whole issue is nothing. We're a quarter of the way through it, and the Kirby, a lot has happened so far, which is what another thing I really liked about this issue is that a lot is packed in a short amount of time, and a lot of characters are being shown, and not and they're not sparing. Like
Right. Right.
there's conversation that happens here. There's emotion. There's action. And you're right. I didn't notice the demon guy in the doorway until you pointed him out. Like I
Okay.
just totally didn't even see him, but now I clearly see him. But yeah, and it I but Red Halo is a character. I'm like, sure, I'd like to see something else with her, a little more focus on her. She seems to be an interesting sort of healer character.
Yeah.
All right.
And you do get a lot of characters so far in these just these two books, but actually throughout the four books.
Hmm.
But you get them in a way that doesn't seem like any kind of, like you referenced earlier, any kind of info dump or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The characters come up when they're needed.
Hmm.
They're used when they're needed. You see them, and then they fade off because the story changes, and so they're not needed. But now that they're there. In your head, you have a list of these characters that you've seen,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, oh, okay, here's this one that they
Yep.
did 5 or 6 panels on. Okay, well, that one's learned, quote unquote, about that. Okay, but there's still these other. Oh, well, there's a whole page about this one now using it, and
Hmm.
you get some. Okay, so we can take them off, and so they're like tossing them all out there, and then they use them as they need to and come back to them to expand this universe as we
Yeah.
go along.
Yeah.
So Kirby and Lynx, they sit down and have a convo about what happened, particularly as it applies to Murder Hornet. And we see the confrontation where Murder Hornet is brought in for questioning, except that it's not the Murder Hornet that they need to question. And so this is where the fact that, um, what's his name? Olander, Wallander, something like that.
Oh, Burger Hornets, Henry Rothlander. Yeah,
Rothlander, yeah. Um, he I don't even know at this point that we can say he predominantly wears the armor, uh, but he
yeah,
is
you're
he
right.
is the Tony Stark. Murder Hornet is his bodyguard. That
Yeah,
is what is known. Um, who exactly is in the Murder Hornet? We know that it was Rothlander to begin with, but we also know that here, where Murder Hornet is taken in for questioning, it is not Rothlander
right.
because he's sitting right there, having turned over his bodyguard for questioning.
Hmm.
So, automatically we're like, well, something's going on because he wears the armor, and when he does, he's pretty daggone nasty.
Yep.
Um, and now this dude, and then later in the story, you find out that Rothlander's male servant or butler or footman or
Hmm.
whatever the new PC term is for it. I grew up calling him a butler. Has also worn the armor because Rothlander says so later on in the
Hmm.
story. So, um, but here, I guess he can't really go in for questioning because he's uh, too big in society. He's too well
Yeah.
known. So he would not allow himself to go in for questioning, though he is the one truly guilty. Nonetheless, they take, and here we do see some more. Here is the montage explaining the background of Rothlander and why he is, and
Hmm.
we have some more Nazi paraphernalia that comes up here
Yep.
in a salute to Adolf Hitler. Actually, in one panel here, if I may say, is
Hmm.
who he's who he's been written as a pattern of. If not, this is who he himself, the character, patterns himself after.
Right.
I don't know that he necessarily has Hitler-esque aspirations, but he has found the belief system of the Aryan nation to line up with what he personally believed, and so he's like, okay, then this is where I should be because these are my people.
Yeah.
Pun intended, no pun intended, tongue in cheek.
Mm,
However, there's all kinds of levels in saying that.
right.
But yeah, so he didn't he wasn't raised that way, but over time he came to view things the way that the Aryan nation, the way that this fascist group does, and so
Hmm.
he accepted that he is part of that group and just took up their cause in essence.
Well, I
So,
like the fact that once his parents die, Jeeves, who's the butler, is like, here, well, let me tell you sort of the truth about society's problems.
uh-huh,
Like,
yeah,
oh, okay. And as a very young kid who, has had this tragedy in his life and this, only adult figure who's left in his life is like, all right, well, it's time to take the guy who has all the money, which is what this kid has now that he's inherited, and like let's manipulate him to what I need. So it's really kind of interesting that he now becomes this very, this the very leader of this Aryan nation. And in all honesty, his whole sort of origin is built on a lie just because Jeeves just pushed him in a certain direction,
mhm,
you know?
and yeah, he initially was Jewish too, which
Yeah,
even makes it that much more extreme.
right.
Um, he initially his thoughts were of a uh, money related difference in
Mhm.
people, and so that developed to a racial
Yeah.
difference in people over time and over the influence of Jeeves and um, so, so Murder Hornet comes from money. He works for money. So of course, money always has a get out of jail free card. And
Yeah.
so that's what happens to Murder Hornet. They question him and he gives all the right answers. Thanks, Hyper.
Ivor
Um,
swoops in the like and
like and
subscribe.
subscribe, kids.
Appreciate that.
Um, so he's out, much to the chagrin of Lynx and Kirby.
Yeah.
And Kirby's like, Lynx is really upset because of their physical confrontation that they had. Kirby is much more pragmatic about it. He's like, that's all right. We use those channels and those channels didn't work. We have other channels, we have a whole dial on this TV that we can use to
Mhm.
take care of stuff. So no,
The brown
Murder
hornet.
Hornet. Yeah, not Brown Hornet.
I forgot all about it.
Brown Hornet.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't the Brown Hornet even have his own cartoon there for a little while?
I don't know if he had his own, but I do remember there being like little shorts and
Segments
stuff.
on the
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Lynx and Kirby just kind of sit back, bide their time, and they have their own plan to quote unquote bring Murder Hornet in. It works. There's a confrontation this time between Kirby and Murder Hornet. Now, Kirby, as I said earlier, is somewhat enhanced. I don't think Lynx is. I think they're just normal athletic people. They're
Yeah.
physically, they're more like Batman would be. Whereas I don't really know who to equate Kirby to because he hasn't shown that he has like super strength or anything like that. So I guess maybe a Captain America, but even he has
Like a low grade Captain
profound
America.
strength. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, it's it would be somebody that like has the strength of five normal men or something like
Right.
that,
Yeah.
which is somebody's tagline, but I can't remember who that
He's
is. But that,
he's an above average athlete, those
yeah,
kind of things.
and he has like I said earlier, he has which is a pretty cool concept. His armor basically is a shield in a shield shape. Is that the name
Yeah.
of the shape? Shield, chevron, shield.
Yeah,
Um,
Chevron, yeah.
that he wears as a breastplate, and so that takes most of the brunt of his physical fighting when he's been fighting people. But he's going up against Murder Hornet, who in this instance is Rothlander,
Mhm.
because he likes to go out looking for people to beat the crap out of because that's how he thinks.
That's how he rolls.
And Kirby just beats the poop out of him. He is extracted by some of his money people, and we find out that there are even multiple Murder Hornet outfits because he is quote unquote rescued by somebody, the gentleman that actually was taken in for questioning, and takes his place. They do a switcheroo, and he takes his place and confronts Kirby and lets Kirby take him in again.
Right.
While
Yeah.
Rothlander, like I said, just got the holy heck beat out of
Who
him.
who has a bloody face, and
Oh man,
his ribs
one of his
cracked.
arms is messed up, his ribs,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we find out that Rothlander has somebody close to Kirby on the payroll at the
Yeah.
end of this issue, which
Yeah.
completely blindsided me. I
Oh,
didn't see
I didn't
anything.
expect that at all.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that alluded to that or anything like that.
Yeah.
So our entries here in the back, and yeah, good call. I don't know if you looked or remembered, but Red Halo was the before her fall, so she's a fallen angel as well.
Oh,
Eh,
okay.
but I don't know. I just my teaching uh, never indicated that angels are supposed to look like that.
Well, technically speaking, angels aren't supposed to look humanoid anyway, so
Well, yeah. So and yeah. So I don't want to get into all of that because I'm sure somebody will be offended by it. But anyways, yeah. So it just struck me as odd that the combination of characteristics for the character, but yet she is a fallen angel. served in
Yeah.
the celestial garden. Yeah, so she's got to be um, a fallen angel also. It says her first
Mhm.
appearance is in the Demon Priest preview. So that's the book that
Oh, okay.
you can get for free off of Indie Planet.
Cool.
The Demon Priest and the Outcasts. So, who are the Outcasts? By the preview, maybe it tells you there.
Yep. Maybe
So,
I'll tell you. Yep.
and then each of these issues also has all of the variant covers
Mhm.
in the back too that you were able to buy.
Yeah.
So that was the second issue.
Now I've got to say that Alan Faria's art in this is by far some of my favorite art that I've seen in comics lately.
Okay, so you really liked it.
Oh, I don't know. It definitely is a combination of his style, but the coloring on it
Yeah,
is crazy good.
yeah, it is.
And so it's one of those things where there is, I mean, it's very, I hate to say that it's not like a 90s thing, but it kept making me go, oh, this is something that I know I would have picked up. His
Oh,
art would
oh
have been
yeah,
in a book that I would have easily picked up in the 90s that Image put out. Like
right alongside with the Image books. Yeah,
no doubt in my mind. I would pick up a book that obviously that he would do now, for sure. But I dig his style. His character work and everything is top. It's great. I need to find more.
his the choices. If it was entirely his, the choices for the dynamism in action scenes and of movement and things
Hmm.
like that are so cool in places.
Yeah.
Just the choices that he made, how he chose to render a particular scene, just and the one that really strikes me is, yeah, up here at page whatever page it is, where the two lynxes jump in to attack Murder Hornet at the very beginning of the book.
Right.
Um, play Jeopardy music now. Page looks like 5, but where they both initially confront Murder Hornet, that is just such a dynamic point of view.
Yeah. Hold on one second, and I will actually show everybody that. So I can pull it up on my screen. Doop doop doop. There we go. You're talking about this one?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
look at that. I
that's
mean, they're both turned, they're both kind of twisted. There's wrinkles all in their outfits showing movement.
yep.
They have similar weapons, but they're holding them very differently. The way that the alley is rendered, it's like
Oh
my
yeah,
impression is that
all
they
of this.
ran down the alley, and it just
Yeah.
all of that. It's like so much action packed into that one panel.
Yep. Now, one, hold a sec. One, because I don't want to show you all the book. I want people to go buy it. But there's one scene in here that made me laugh. It shouldn't have. It was definitely not done that way. There was no intent, I'm sure, for this, but it's the tea drinking or coffee drinking scene. This one right here. Um, I don't know why that just sort of made me laugh. I mean, because they're just like, yeah, all right, get some coffee. All right, we're just kind of talking about, who's doing what and Murder Hornet and whatnot, and then it's just
They're just
Law and Order talking about
yep,
police scanner, just an average
chilling
day at the
over some
office,
coffee.
just drinking coffee, talking about the mission. It's like, okay, it's just, I don't know, there was just something about that whole sequence. When I
Th-
saw it the first time, I was just like, that's hilarious. I don't know
They
why that's
even
funny.
went so far as to show Lynx throwing away his cup on the way out.
No,
And
that was
in it,
Agent.
well, no, that was in the previous issue. That was Agent. In this issue, it's Lynx,
Oh,
the
okay.
the male Lynx, as he's walking away. Um,
it's just too funny.
he threw the cup away in the trash can. Yeah, in the first issue, I'm like, "Why did he throw that coffee cup in the
Yeah.
trash?" I don't know what that was about. That maybe it's something, and it just escaped me.
Yeah.
I'm not bright enough, or so I
But
don't
again,
know,
good.
but
Now, what you're gonna have to find out for me at some point, and you'll have to message me after the show.
okay.
But when the Lynx one shot that you have,
Mhm.
did Faria do the art in that?
Okay. Yeah, I'll look
Because
and
he
see.
did do the art for the handbook entry for them for Lynx,
Okay.
where the other artist from the first issue um does the
Monsanto?
Gilbert, yeah, Monsanto. He does the art on what looks like a majority, if not all, of the other um, entries. So I just found that kind of curious.
I'll dig it out and check and see.
Cool. All right, so on to the third issue. Again, same creative team. This one we're introduced to Dr. Stephen Rotman, who is the living nightmare. Who is basically a horrible accident happened in his lab, and so he is now a living skeleton who has a rockin' mustache,
With a hell of a mustache. Yes,
a
indeed.
big old like handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
It is so good. Um, in in that accident, his assistant Ariel was put into some kind of coma or something. Anyway,
Right. Put
so
into a coma.
when Rotman wakes up in the hospital and realizes, oh crap, I'm a skeleton. I should kidnap my assistant and take him back to my lab to help him, and in doing so ended up miniaturizing the dude,
Yes.
and who was a normal looking guy. Now he's this sort of green red mohawk alien looking thing
Right.
that is probably this tall. No, he's probably smaller than that because he fits inside of Agent's ear at some point.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't
And
think
he
he
speaks
shrunk.
some other language too.
Right, yeah, and he speaks
So
some that only Rotman can understand.
whatever
So,
these experiments did all of this to Ariel.
yeah.
Uh,
So, and his spaceship is called Ariel 51, which is great.
ah.
So, um, so Agent Kirby has become a problem for uh Rothman. And so, or not Rothman, what's the guy's name? Rothenberger? Henry. No, Rothlander. Sorry.
Rothlander. Rothlander. Yeah.
There's too many long names and too long last names, and I just did Rotman. It's not going to go. So he has become, obviously, Rothlander is our major villain. His mission now in life is to take out
Right.
the agent, and so his first idea is to not like just send somebody in to kill him, but let's discredit him. Let's try and make him uh do something that discredits him. So he sends Rothman in with Ariel, who goes into his ear canal, hooks up a bunch of equipment to read his thoughts and start putting like old like false memories, like rewriting these memories that were great memories, pleasant memories, and make them sort of nightmarish. And what I love is the fact that Agent Kirby he wakes up like, oh my gosh, oh what a nightmare, and then like gets a Q-tip and cleans out his ear, which gets Ariel,
Ultimately, yeah.
and that was it. It was just like like this elaborate plan. And I love the fact that the Rothman just sort of, goes just sneaks in the window and pulls, Ariel out of the trash can.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Rescues Ariel. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun issue, don't get me wrong, but it was just like this elaborate plan, like of discrediting him, making Kirby do something, wrong or whatever like that. That was the ultimate plan. And the fact that it all fell apart pretty quick because Kirby is a very outstanding, upstanding citizen and all this other stuff.
Yep.
And but yeah, it was just kind of hilarious. I was just like, oh, well, that was, I mean, a majority of the issue, and it was just kind of like, eh, like it didn't phase him, which is tells you more about Kirby's character, which is good.
Right.
But it was definitely a fun sequence. I mean, great new character, villains to introduce. Again, the art still really, really good. The character design on both of them were great. I loved Ariel. I mean, that the mohawk and the little antennas and everything. It's just, I mean, just everything about this issue was fun for me. So
Very fun. Very
yeah.
fun. eh, Kirby doesn't keep the cleanest of ear canals. I noticed there in
No,
that
no, not at
scene.
all.
That was funny because I'm like, man, if anybody else drew that, they would just draw nice, smooth
Right.
canal walls and just
Nope.
no, not
No.
yeah. That was
He was
funny.
like, I love the fact that he woke up. He's like, "Ah, God, I got to clean my ears out
Eh,
immediately."
Yep.
Well, yeah, because you got wires hanging out of them. He's like,
Yeah, that you didn't notice.
that you didn't
It's like
notice beforehand. So, yeah, I was trying to figure out where the wires plugged into the little ship, and
uh,
how Kirby woke up and didn't realize there was like a little disc sitting on his pillow. It's just
he's a heavy sleeper. He works
apparently.
hard during the day, and well, next issue we find out he works hard at night too.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah,
um, let's hear it for the female character, Midnight Wraith. That's a good one. I like that one. Or how
yeah,
about
yeah.
in role playing gaming circles, the tank Captain with a K, Polska,
Oh
P
yeah,
O L
oh
S
yeah,
K A, Captain Polska,
yeah.
and he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy. So good
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, and that's I don't know. It's just there's no fear. I feel like in the creation of these characters, they're just like, all right, we're just gonna do something fun. Just what you got. You know,
Yep.
I got a guy who's gonna wear not a chicken costume, but he's gonna wear, well, not chicken. What is Polska? What is that supposed to be? It's not a chicken. It's like an eagle, maybe.
It looks like a
But it
like
looks like a chicken.
a red, white, and blue kind of motif. But I mean, if he's I don't know if the red and white are those parts of the Polish national flag, or I'm not familiar with their flag,
Well,
but
Polska, yeah, yeah, because he's Poland. He's from Poland, but he's Polish and Canadian dual citizenship.
Canadian Polish.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was like,
I'm not
okay,
sure that I've ever encountered that before in
no,
comic
not at
books. So
all.
there we go.
But it's just good stuff. Yeah, and then we get Omni Man because every book needs an Omni Man.
Yes.
I did kind of like laugh at that. I was like, oh, of course, there's an Omni Man. So, with a big O on his chest, of course. Um, but yeah, again, it just, and then we get another, at the end of this, we definitely get our big G Man splash page of all these characters and everything. So just getting ready for the mission kind of thing. Um, but yeah, it was just, I don't want to say there wasn't a lot that went on in the issue. Not a lot did go on in the issue. But still, I think, it was one that I got done going, "Oh, that was just perfect. That's exactly what I needed."
Well, after both of the although there was that kind of scene in this issue, but for a different reason. Both of the first two issues had the big battle montage,
Yeah,
calling all the agents together. Now it did in this issue also, but it was as the doctor was trying to reprogram one of Simon's memories,
yeah,
and actually that was the thing where he started realizing in his quote unquote dream that something was not right.
yeah,
I guess what he is thinking is this what he's dreaming isn't the way it happened. It's not his
yeah.
memory, even though he wakes up and says it was a dream. And I'm like, well, my dreams typically don't have anything to do with my memories,
R-
usually.
right.
But yeah, but just it was that breather. I think
Yeah.
after a couple
Oh,
really
that's a good.
hard
Yeah, that's
hitting
good.
to open it up, they kind of sat back. The one story, even the one story thread went all the way through the book.
Yep.
So it was one thing that you had to keep up with.
Hmm.
Um, some different scenes giving you some character development for Kirby because you saw the way it happened, and then the doctor would back it up and change it in an evil way. So
Yep.
you saw the way it actually happened and the way the doctor was trying to program that it happened in Kirby's memory. Now, keep in mind also, like Chris said, his little hench dude crawled in through Kirby's ear with some wires and plugged into his brain through the
Yes.
ear. It ultimately is what he did. So that's how the doctor got the connection. And I guess from wherever the doctor was to the spaceship, I guess it was some kind of, Wi-Fi, Bluetoothy kind
Right.
of thing. But
Science.
Kirby was hardwired
Yes.
into Ariel's little spaceship, Ariel
Yep.
51. So
Yep.
yeah, good.
That just looks like
Just
a drone little ship. But
just
oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, not
Don't
fun
think too much about it.
in a
Don't. It's not
childish way, but just
right.
fun. Yeah,
If you
that was
overthink
good.
it, you're gonna ruin it for
No,
yourself.
don't.
Don't
Yeah,
do
don't
that.
overthink it. Just go with it.
Come in here, read it, and go, "Oh, that was fun." So now the fourth issue, not so much fun
Ooh, no.
unless you're agent for that brief panel that we didn't see. But it gets kind of serious when you have people trying to murder you, and it's not
Mm,
murder hornet.
it's not Murder Hornet, but
Yeah. So
so, all right. So the creatives are the same as the second and third issue, I believe.
mhm,
If I can get down to them here. Gone Fishing is the name of
yep.
this story. Faria Bennett, Mogan. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So he comes home. Agent or Kirby comes home, and I hesitate to know because this dude's name is Sergeant something, isn't it? Not
Sergeant
Agent.
Flag.
Flag. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So
He's my new favorite character.
he's Flag. His part of his outfit is a half mask. It
Yes.
comes down to the nose, and it presumably ties in the back of the head with a top knot looking kind of
Yeah.
thing dangling down. Okay, that's part of his outfit. Well, when Kirby comes into his apartment, dude is sitting in a recliner with that mask on, uh, trunks that
Yeah.
have a belt, and a set of house slippers,
Yep.
all with the same color motif.
They're
You can
all
tell
red,
it's
white, and
all part
blue.
of the same outfit. Yeah, and that's all he's
Branding,
got
man.
on.
Branding.
He's chugging a beer, presumably. Yeah, it's got to be a beer because he's got a bunch of bottles down here. So
Yeah.
because he and Kirby the next day, and I don't know why he's there tonight, but the next day, the buds are supposed to go fishing. So he's there to hang out with his buddy in some, pre-fishing thing, um, waiting for him. And Kirby walks in with a date and found his look and plans to with it. Yep, there you go. Or actually the look is mandated by the government and maybe he's sticking to it. I don't know.
Who knows?
Um, so Kirby comes home with a date and ultimately kicks Sergeant out. And he is still there, Sergeant, sitting outside when
Oh, yeah. It didn't
Kirby's
go
date
anywhere.
does the walk of shame. What? No, she's not. She doesn't have a shameful pose at all. But
No. No.
she walks, whatever, home to get the bus to get to her car, wherever she's going. And Sergeant is there on the porch, hanging out, waiting. Like now, he's dressed a little differently, so maybe he left and came back early, which is typically what you do for
Probably.
fishing is you
Yeah.
take off pretty early to get out there, so but yeah, so he knows that Kirby had a profitable night.
I do wanna know why he showed up like this, but he was hanging out there, like,
It's
shirtless
I
in his buddy's house waiting for him
yeah,
to get
I
home.
don't know.
It was just like,
Did
did you just come off a mission? You're just like, "Alright, I need to kick back
well,
with a beer," and
did
then, "Oh, look, Kirby's home. Okay,
did he
cool."
have a bag with him that ultimately
Well,
he
he
would
had
have
a
changed into
giant
this?
box.
Well, that's a
I think
cooler. That was a cooler for the beer.
is that really what it is? Just the
Yeah,
cooler?
that was a
Oh,
cooler for the beer.
I thought it was just
That's it, so
I
he's
thought
he's
it was, but at the same time, I was trying
he's
not to
he's
think that
packing
was
his own
all that it
cooler, man.
was.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's um
Oh, good times.
they go to the airport because they're going to fly to wherever their fishing location is. And we have a montage here, not a montage, we have a panel here of several more heroes that are fighting an evil dinosaur, I guess.
Right.
We
Yeah.
don't know that it's evil dinosaur, but they're fighting a dinosaur. And Kirby wants to get involved, but Sergeant is like, "Nah, dog, we got stuff to do. We got to go on vacation. We got to go fishing." So
When Sarge when Sarge clocks out, he clocks
he
out. He's
does. He's
like
out.
nope,
Yep.
don't care.
So we go to the Northern Pike boat rental ultimately. So they're going to charter a fishing boat and they go out fishing. And our Rothlander sets up yet another attempt because he was behind the doctor in the previous issue
Yeah.
taking care of Kirby.
Right.
And the doctor failed. So Rothlander tries again. This time he hires a couple mercenaries to kill,
Mhm.
just kill. That was the order, Kirby. And we find out that they are in Mississauga. Is that in Canada? Maybe
I'm
I don't know
assuming
what.
it's in
Oh
Canada.
yeah, it
Yeah.
says right here, Mississauga, Canada, on
Okay.
the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
panel.
I see it now, yeah.
The panel after they show up. So we get a little bit of backstory about these two mercenaries. They are a team pre Cape uh, and also post Cape because their career ultimately led them with the skills they have. They had a certain set of skills
Mhm.
and decided that the way to apply that after trying to do it legitimately was to do it illegitimately, uh, so to speak. And so they are a team. Um, they both show up in the entries in the back of this issue. One's name is Metis.
Yeah.
Is that her name, or is that a creature or something?
That I don't know. I didn't look it up to see, but yeah, I noticed that that was just her name.
Yeah, he keeps referring to her as just Metis, Metis.
Oh, no, her real name is, Kiwana.
Okay, Metis.
So Metis is
Is that
yeah.
where she's now? She is a and I apologize for not recognizing this, but she is a minority of some nature. Well, first of all, she's female, so there are those people that would indicate that's a minority also. But
Yeah, she's
I
from the
was,
Anishinaabe people.
and is that also, I guess, Canadian? I don't recognize that as a U.S. native
Yeah,
group.
I
So
think it is because her birthplace is, the, Aschenbeck Nation, North Bay, Ontario. So,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. So she's a what do the Canadians call them? First Nation, I believe. She's a First
Mhm.
Nation. Um, and here where we get the scene where she goes back and they're telling some of her history. She says, "I was a Métis, M-E with a diacritical over at T-I-S, Métis girl stationed at Camp Nation Nathan Smith." So I guess that's something about her indigenousness or her nationality or something like that,
So the
I guess.
Métis are, indigenous, people who inhabit Canada's 3 prairie provinces,
Okay, so it's a
as well as parts of British Columbia, Northwest Territory, and northern United States. They share history and culture, which derives specifically from mixed European and indigenous ancestry.
oh, so she's okay. She is of a mixed ancestry,
Yeah, yeah.
European and First Nation,
Mhm.
and I guess she is. I don't know. It's interesting because I would almost think that at some point in history that would become a derogatory reference to them
Maybe, yeah.
because it diminishes any one person is going to be any one group of people is going to be more than where they came from, so to speak, and that
Mhm.
seems to be a reference of where they came from. So if she has adapted that as her code name,
Yeah,
that's interesting
yeah.
because if not, then dude is constantly slamming her by referring to her by that name. Perhaps, yeah, it's an interesting. I would have to speak to the character creators to find out that whole thought process of using that word to refer to her.
Yeah, it's Offenberger who's the creator of her. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
oh, and Terry, while I was sitting there reading tonight, she said, "So are you guys going to interview him?" And I was like, "Uh, well, I mean, we don't have plans to, but there's nothing that says we couldn't." So
Right. Yeah.
after another segment like this or two
Mhm.
um, get caught up, we can have him on and
Well,
ask him these
and
questions.
that's the thing, and I've actually had to field that question a couple of times from some creators and PR folks here this week, which is crazy.
Oh, okay.
And so, and just kind of give everybody an insight to that. Ed and I have a very limited sort of time frame in which we can actually sit down and record episodes. Ed's way more busy than I am. I tend to just veg out and fall asleep on the couch, at a certain point. But sorry about that. I forgot you had a drink in your mouth. But Ed actually does other shows and stuff like that. So trying to be a little more cognizant of time and respect of his time. So to schedule, and this is based off previous experience with both of us with Boom Addiction, when we have tried to schedule podcast interviews in the past, we sort of have to bend our time to whenever the folks that we interview is,
Right.
to be as courteous to them as possible. So we don't neither one of us are able to do certain, we're very limited in what we can do in time frame wise. So once that becomes not actually becomes an issue, but sort of loosens up for whatever reason, and that could be 2 weeks from now, that could be 2 months
Yeah.
from now, whatever. But just whenever it happens, and we can sort of say, okay, for the next foreseeable future, we know we can fit in a couple of interviews, then we'll definitely do it. And Offerman, I'm thinking Nick Offerman.
I was going to say that's Nick.
sorry,
What?
sorry.
What?
Offenberger. He has been super nice to us, sending us the stuff and everything. I would definitely love to have him on the show to talk about this
For sure.
because even without him sending the stuff, you obviously had been picking up the stuff on Kickstarter, so it's not like it's an unknown quantity for us. So we definitely need to look into that, and maybe just maybe we can tell him. Hold on, I didn't catch what he said. Ed has a new
Oh
show
my
coming out. The
goodness.
eyes of Hyper Potato are upon us. It's just Ed commenting on me, making him uncomfortable. That's it. So but so yeah, we definitely want to interview folks in the future. I had and I didn't tell you this, Ed. I had somebody reach out to me and wanted to see if we'd want to interview Mark Russell, which is
No,
great.
you told well.
Oh, did I tell you that or not? No, I told you that they wanted us to review his book,
Yes, the book, but yeah,
but
you didn't say
but they
anything about an
also
actual
were
interview.
very curious if we'd be interested in interviewing him, and I'm like, and so I
Okay.
had to explain that what I just said, um, and I said, look, if we can make it happen, we definitely will. But I'm not, I don't want to do one interview and then people are like, oh, well, you just did it for him because he sent you some books, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just I don't want to do this quid pro quo kind of thing. So when we know we can do a number of interviews, then we're definitely going to do it. But for the time being, yeah, we're just going to focus on reviewing the books and stuff like that. We may send whoever some questions just so we can have some background information or whatever. We might do that. And we might not. Obviously, we didn't do it for these. Um, but that is something that we do have in the back of our minds. But at the same time, I don't want to set up a schedule, say, hey, would you like to come on the show and do a thing and talk to us about your comics and everything? Yeah, I can only do it on Fridays at 11:30 in the morning. Like, oh, well, we can't do that.
Yep.
So
We're a couple working
yeah,
slobs.
yeah, exactly.
That's
So it is something we want to do. So that being said, there you go. So now whenever someone asks me, I can just point to them and go to 1 hour and 40
eh,
minutes
right. Episode
on this episode,
152,
and
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 that's
there's my full
there.
explanation right there. Maybe
There's
I'll
the
do an auto transcript so I can just cut and paste.
The official comic addiction stance on that question
There you
right
go.
there. There you
We
go.
want to do it. We just want to be conscientious.
I also wanted to tell you, if you go to First Comics News,
Yep.
somehow that is related to Rick. I don't know
I
on
think
what
he
level.
runs it.
Okay, there is
I
a
don't know
place.
for sure, but yeah.
There's a tab there for reviews, and Comic Addiction episode 144 and 145 are listed under reviews because I
Really?
talked about G-Man books
Oh,
on
sweet.
that tab. So definitely one of us needs to let him know that we talked about this stuff tonight,
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh,
I'm
he
sure
knows.
he
Yeah.
will put it there with the
Yeah.
others. But yeah, I was in my search to how can I buy more books, I ran across that.
Ain't that the truth? That's that is
So
the goal.
absolutely. Okay, so we're fishing. Sergeant and Kirby are fishing, and they get attacked by Midas. And did you look and see what his name was, Chris? I forgot already. I know he's
On
listed.
who's?
The dude with Midas.
Oh, yeah,
Midas.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I was gonna pull this
it's not
thing up.
Bandolier. He's a good guy.
Dark Warrior is
Dark
his.
Warrior. How could
Yeah.
I forget that?
Sam Williams, Dark Warrior.
Sam Williams. Good name. Good
It's a
solid
solid name, yeah.
crust of the earth, or whatever that phrase is, kind of name there. So now we have it's a 2-on-2, but because they weren't expecting it, actually Kirby gets rather significantly hurt.
Yeah.
So he's
He got a skewer if there ever was one.
yeah,
Jeez.
boy, Metis, Mietis, however you pronounce that. I apologize. I mean no slight to those people that name refers to. I'm not sure what to do with that diacritical mark over the E.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does to it. She's running around with a single hand crossbow, like a pistol, only a
Mhm.
crossbow. So, and she gets Kirby. She takes him out essentially. I mean, he's not able to do much after that. So
Yeah.
now, Sergeant's got to defend them and carry Kirby around. Now, here in one of these panels, we see that the sergeant opens up this big case that he's been toting around, and it's his equipment case, Chris.
Yeah.
I said it was a cooler. I'm sorry. It's his equipment.
I
It's
was
or
wondering what it
their equipment. It's
yeah.
interesting that he always carries it around with him anyway. But okay.
It's
Um,
he's gotta carry those guns, man. It's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
going on
Him,
in there.
him and the Punisher. It's yeah.
But, I mean, that's the I mean, that really is what he is. I mean, not the
Oh,
Punisher,
sure.
but he is the epitome of that '90s gritty,
Right.
gun-toting,
Street level gun
character.
toting. Just
His name's Rob McFarlane. I mean,
minus
it's
the patches,
right.
the
The
pouches.
pouches, yeah.
Yeah, he did. And I will say,
But he just carries a giant box with him.
there are
Not the
few,
pouches.
if any, pouches on any of these characters.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
they may be homaging potentially a lot of 90s kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's not that bad an homage because there are
Minus
no pouches
pouches
and they're good
plus
feet.
feet. Yeah, that's exactly.
Thank you.
We knew
No
exactly what
pouches
we
and good
were gonna
feet.
do.
That's yeah, sorry.
And backgrounds. There are
Rob, if you
backgrounds.
ever listen to any of these shows, man, I bought your books just like the millions of other people did too.
Oh,
So
dude, I love Roth. I love
I,
his
I
stuff, man.
I have no problem with your art or your style
Nope.
of writing or whatever people want to take issue with. I dug it all. I still
Yep.
do.
Still, yeah. Still do.
I still do. One of my reading projects is
I
early image stuff. So every weekend I read 2 or 3 books of early image, and of course Rob Liefeld is all through that. So
so I've told stories of my multiple crates of hardcovers and trade paperbacks I still don't have on a bookshelf since I moved in my new house 2+ years ago. But I was looking for a book. I was looking for 2 books in particular. I was looking for Dark Crystal hardcovers that I have.
oh, I wonder why.
But that's a whole different thing. But I did stumble across my the Youngblood trade paperback um that was Joe Casey sort of re
Re-
reconstructing
right.
the
Okay.
first Youngblood miniseries.
Hmm.
And so I had to pull it out, flip through it. Good old Rob Liefeld art
Yeah,
from
boy.
I
At,
just
at his
even
height.
even sort of rearranged so that it made a little more sense. It's still so good. And so I still one of these days I want to do something. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but do something, maybe get some top down camera, but I've got, that mini series sitting in the boxes and do sort of the side by side compare. I'm really
Okay.
surprised at like the kayfabe, not kayfabe,
Yeah, the cartoonist kayfabe.
yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
it was the
that's what they
kayfabe.
do with the top down looking at
Yeah.
the book. That's what I thought of when
So
you said that. I was like,
so I'm really surprised that they haven't done something like this, and maybe they have and I just forgot, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
both things, I mean, that collected edition that sort of restructured everything is really a good find if you can find it. Like, I bought it off the shelf when it first came out, many, many years ago. But if you can find it and you're even remotely a fan of the original Youngblood miniseries, um, find it, pick it up if you can, and do that sort of comparison. You will laugh because of it, but you will also laugh because you're like, oh well, this makes a lot more sense now. Oh,
It-
this is actually pretty compelling story. It's like, oh, if only he'd have put it all together, we didn't care. We were all looking at just the art, going, oh,
that's
this is awesome. This
yep.
is Rob Liefeld at his best. So, all right, so
Now,
no,
is
just
that Casey redo only available as a collected?
yes,
It's
yeah,
okay. So that's the only way to get a hold of that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now, and I will say, I mean, that book's not probably not in print anymore. I mean, for sure not in print anymore. But I have no idea if you could just find it on
Right. Yeah.
eBay or some
Without
used
looking,
bookstore. Yeah,
I'll look around and see.
yeah, it's a good book to have.
All right. So as we're winding up the fourth issue here, we have a running battle now. We have two good guys, Sergeant and Kirby on the
Yeah,
good guys, and we have Matus and Dark
Dark Warrior.
Warrior on the bad side.
Yep.
Kirby is kind of out of it, so actually it's a running gunfight between two against one. But
Yeah.
they come up with a plan. Kirby Kirby is the bait, and Sergeant is able to capture Dark Warrior. Just as he does that, the unit of help that was called for by
Hmm.
our agents arrives, and we have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have six more G-men that are introduced. So we've had probably upwards to 20 characters or more
Hmm.
introduced in these four issues, and
Yeah.
that to me is just awesome.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I
so
love this.
many books. If you tried to do that nowadays, you would just, as a creator, be pummeled by those people that are bitching about who is this, what's
Hmm.
their connection, what do they do, and the G-man folks are like, look, these are the people that came in and they did this, and we'll tell you, oh,
Yep.
at
We'll
some
get
point,
around to it. Yeah.
wouldn't we want to? I'm like, yeah, you go. And I think what it really is for me personally is that these books so far are reflecting an older style of storytelling,
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
and I think that's why I enjoy them so much. To
Yeah.
just completely boil it down, it's just an older style,
Hmm.
the style that I am more familiar with and that I find more engaging, and that ultimately is why I like it.
Yeah.
There are faults, and I think this issue, I think one of the faults in this issue is one of the lamest named characters I have ever run across. Isn't it in this? Yeah, I believe it's this dark dude over here, Wool Gatherer.
Oh,
I was like, what?
I
Okay,
just I like I like what's the dude's name?
not the
Marshall.
Monkey Prince.
No, just Marshall.
Oh, yeah, there, Marshall.
There's
Martial.
Yep.
Marshall. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, you guys have put together so many point well, you lost a point with Wool Gatherer. I'm sorry. That's just no. The 2 2 weak sauce there.
Yeah.
But I also, something that I've noticed is there has been a fair number of female superheroes that they've
Hmm.
introduced too, and that's cool to see.
Yeah.
The G-men arrive as reinforcements, and what happened is that the Dark Warrior had recruited some straight military mercenaries as backup as well.
Hmm.
So the arriving G-men take on those forces while our two heroes take on the two bad guys. So it kind of divides up, and it wasn't really obvious that these troops were there in support. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but when the G-men arrive, that's who they go after. So it's like, well, obviously they were there.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the smartest soldier in the room kind of thing. So we have several pages of that engagement there. Finally, while all of that is going on, as I said, Dark Warrior was captured, but Metis wasn't. She was in the wind because she knew that the tide was turning against her. So
Yep.
the final outcome is the capturing of all of these ground troops, regular forces, as it were,
Hmm.
and then some little bantering back and forth here with Kirby, who takes having that arrow extracted really well, I thought.
Goodness.
Um,
Seriously.
he just says no expletive, but yeah, it didn't look that easy. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe this was one of the things that really signified to me that he was enhanced in some way,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because yeah, um, it just fun, jovial kind of ending.
Yep.
Bandolier, there's another good one, and that's
Hmm.
Mike Spagnola's Bandolier.
Yeah. I like that.
Um, and then we've got Critter Queen, who that almost won. And she, down at her feet here in her entry, this large furry animal looks like an Eevee. If you know your
Oh
Pokemon,
yeah. Uh-huh.
it looks like an Eevee there. Dark Warrior, who is our mercenary. Marshall, there's your favorite. It is Ezekiel Jonghan Azib's Marshall.
Yeah. I like the
Uh,
fact that he's Declan Simmons. Declan. I just love
Declan,
that name.
yeah,
That's
good
so
macho
good.
name. And then Metis.
Oh, and if you notice, he's from an alternate Earth.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so his birthplace is Leadville, Colorado, Alt Earth 10.
Oh, so we even have time travel,
So we have
or
a at
dimensional
least
travel in this
yeah.
universe. Cool. There we go.
So
His wife is dead and his daughter is missing. And he has
dun
an engineering
dun
degree.
dun.
And this issue was his first appearance.
Yep.
So there we go. Who's after Metis here? Oh, yes. Greg Whitmore's Sidereal, a former
Hmm.
astronaut from Japan.
Yep.
Just here he is. Noah Dingley's Wool Gatherer. What? What? His regular occupation is a fashion PR representative.
Yes.
His name is Noah, no last name,
That's
just Noah. And he has a BS in fashion design from Thomas Jefferson University.
yep.
He's able to take someone's ultimate daydream and bring it out of their subconscious mind. So I guess he manifests their daydream. Their,
Sounds like a
I
power.
sure, it's one half of what what's her face can do with the New Mutants, right? She
Oh,
can
oh yeah, yeah.
Mirage.
Mirage. Yeah.
She can manifest your worst nightmare or
Yep.
your favorite, whatever it is, your happiest thing. And
Hmm.
then we have a monkey prince, Wukong, Christopher Hart's Wukong the Monkey Prince.
Yep.
So, sorry, I should have done that just out of you know what, and giggles with the other books, but I didn't go through the characters there.
Yeah, but good names, good characters.
Yep.
And it definitely the thing is you get to the end of all this, at least these issues. I mean, again, there's a fifth issue. But we don't have it with this batch.
No.
It definitely gives me, a new universe kind of vibe. It gives me that
Mhm.
what was oh goodness. that Archie universe, the Shield and um was it Red Circle or
Red
something like
Circle. I think that's what it was called
sort of
way back.
that it gave me a lot of that feel.
For,
Um
when DC did it, I think
yes,
a
DC did do
lot
it.
of the prior ones were a lot
Yeah.
more serious. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think the DC Red Circle or whatever they called that imprint was.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely gives me that sort of older 60s,
Hmm.
vibe to it and everything. Not that I was around in the 60s to read those comics, but it was just, I don't know, it just gave me that old school feel to it that I definitely want to read more of this. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to checking out more of it.
And we do have more guys. We have well, and actually, this Christmas special is kind of a like a chibi version, I think, kind of
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's what the Christmas special number 2 looked like. It's kind
Yeah.
of a funnier,
Okay.
not funnier, lighter, chibi kind of version. But the G-Men Comics 3 in 1 and the United, those should be stories along the lines of what we just did. So,
Cool.
but yeah, yeah, good stuff. Hopefully, we'll do another show on just those books too, because
Yeah. Oh, we definitely will. Yeah.
I'm really a fan of this universe.
Yeah.
The handful spread out of books that I've read, I
Hmm.
had enjoyed and I remembered enough, but reading these 4 issues back to back in one sitting, it's among the best times I've had reading comics in the last quite a while,
Yeah. Same
to
here.
be honest with you. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I read these at lunch today just to kinda keep it fresh, and I kinda was a little worried. I was like, "Okay, well, I'll read as many of them as I can at lunch, and then I'll read the rest when I get
right.
done with work," and I ended up sort of reading through really quick,
Mhm.
everything, and so I was like, "Oh," well, and had a little time to go back and kind of look over stuff again, but I was just like, they read super quick, a lot of again, a lot of fun, and just that's the kind of comics I like reading.
Along with everything else that we've said to describe them, they're not dense either.
No, no.
So that, yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's one of the things that makes it more enjoyable for me is just that it is in several different ways just lighter fare from the stuff that I've been reading lately.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, just fun. I wish I could sit here and tell everybody how to definitely get a hold of these books, but I haven't found it yet, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Um, the Kickstarter is how I've gotten hold of some of them.
Mhm.
Rick sent us review copies in digital, and I went to the website that I'm aware of. I went to First, what I call it, First Comics,
Yeah,
First
and he
something.
does run that. He's the editor of that site.
Okay, and there's a link to the website G-Man Comics. Um, Hyper, I looked on Indie Planet, and all they had was a 15-page preview for one of the characters, which I think is a book. It's one of the earliest books that they made, and I
Mhm.
think that that character is going to be in the February Kickstarter that they're building towards. You weren't, I believe, with us yet when I said that the next Kickstarter that I've found looks like it's lining up to be February of 23, and there will be 4 to 6 different books offered.
Mhm.
The next issue in several of these series, which is the way that G-Man has been doing it on Kickstarter. Um, but maybe one of the things we can do is reach out to Rick and say, hey, we are digging these electronic. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Physical. How do you get a physical for these books now that we missed on the Kickstarters?
yeah. No, I definitely will do that when I tell him about, us having the show up.
Yeah.
I
So
definitely inquire about that because and then we'll let all of you guys know, who are watching and
absolutely.
listening,
Yeah.
on our next episode. We'll do a sort of at the beginning of the show, we'll do a quick little update just to kind of let you folks know. Provide some links. Follow us on Twitter. I mean, we'll definitely put it there if we get a link or something like that to share. But yeah, I would highly recommend um, taking it, even if you just pick up a couple issues. I mean, I'm not saying pick it all up, all of the stuff that we will eventually talk about, but even just kind of picking up these 4 issues, I think it'll be plenty
Yeah.
to get you started and get you sort of understanding of what's going on in this universe, and just a quick little splash of all of the characters that they have. So
And they also have, he sent us 2 handbooks. I saw on their website that they had 4 or 5 listed, but I don't know if the
wow,
others are yet to come, if something has come out and I've
hmm,
missed it other than these 2. So I don't know if the 2 handbooks are the only ones out yet, but
yeah,
they have enough characters so far for 2 handbooks. If they're all characters. Now, I don't know if there's any story in those at all because I
yeah. I
haven't
haven't
looked at
looked
those yet.
yet. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was trying to kind of keep myself focused on what we were going to talk about tonight,
yeah, this
because I could have easily sat down and read all of this stuff tonight, much to the chagrin of my wife. She'd be like, "Are you ever gonna come eat dinner?" Like, no,
no,
no, no,
no, I'm
reading
not.
comics.
I can eat tomorrow.
Yeah,
Just like I'll sleep later, I'll eat tomorrow.
exactly.
It's all good.
It's all
Later. It's
so. Now what we had planned on doing is sharing some Kickstarters and stuff that Ed's backing. I'm not backing right now. I mean, I definitely get on there and tell you something that I'm interested in. But we're 2 hours into the show right now, so I don't want to overwhelm anybody. Now, is there any particular one that you like, one or two of them that you'd like to highlight?
there's a couple that I should highlight because they are something that I have noticed that has been happening on Kickstarter is that a lot of older um, IPs, the creators are collecting them for the first time or the more recent time. There you go,
Hmm.
and putting it on Kickstarter, which for some of these things is the only way that you're going to get it unless you want to spend a lot of money for
Oh,
individual
for sure.
issues
Yeah.
at a
Hmm.
comic shop or on eBay or something like that.
Yeah.
First one that comes to mind is this here, Too Much Coffee Man, the first 9 issues. Now, uh, this intrigues me more for its place in comics. I have read a couple issues of Too Much Coffee Man, not necessarily my fare, for various reasons, but it is important because of its place. It
Hmm.
is important because of the creator, Shannon Wheeler. Um, Romanus Magicae Kickstarter? That doesn't sound familiar. I'll take a look at that, Hyper. Um, Hardback, trade paperback.
Mm.
It has been collected, but it hasn't been collected since like 2014 or 15, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's several years out. And Shannon Wheeler, if you look him up, he's done stuff for the New Yorker. Just off the top of my head, he's done stuff for I believe Mad Magazine as well.
Mhm.
The original volume, since the current volume is pretty much all reprints of the original,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Um,
So this particular one, you can get the digital copy of it all, which is the first 9, for $10, and then you could get the looks like the printed version of it, which is 180 pages in a 6 by 9 book, for $20, and it's all black and white. So just
mhm.
sort of heads up if you didn't know that. Um, so I mean, $20 for these 9 issues, plus you get a digital copy too. It says it includes that too. Um, $30 you get a signed copy. 75 you get a small sketch, which is cool. Um, and then retailer specials and stuff like that. So it goes um, up to 800 if you want a redrawn page or whatever.
Oh, there you go.
Um, so that'd be kind of neat. Um, that's a little above my pay grade, but
Yeah, somebody out
but
there has anybody done it? Does it say?
no, nobody had backed it,
Oh,
the
nobody's got that one.
800
Okay,
yet. But we've got the $200 tier, which is a larger 9 by 12 sketch,
6 people.
with India ink. I mean, it's a full blown, you know, put some work into it sketch.
Yep.
So 6 people are on that, and then the 4 retailer specials. A lot on the smaller one, the $75 one, 47, but 113 coming in for the signed copy for $30 is a great price. 130 plus for just the printed $20 copy, which I think is a great. I think $20 for 9 issues, even if it's the 6x9 is not quite a digest. It's a little bit bigger than a digest size.
Right.
So, but yeah, good stuff. I mean, so that's, and I think this, I mean, it looks like he's already got it printed. That doesn't look like it's just sort of a mock. That looks like
No, yeah, that looks, yeah.
he's actually got it printed. So it's just, I think it said, let's see, when is it scheduled to go out? I
6
never,
days left.
so we got 6 days left on it, but there's always it's always over here. Estimated delivery December of this year.
Right.
So he's
Yeah,
ready to go.
that's got to be, they already have them printed.
Yeah. So
And the other one, for much the same reason, is the Ninja High School Gold Digger crossover collection.
yes.
This goes back to
Oh,
way
that's
near the
volume
beginnings
1.
of indie
Oh,
stuff.
people are backing it as we're watching it.
Yeah, you
I
see the
always love
numbers.
that.
Probably the early 90s, I think, is when Ben Dunn did this.
Yeah.
He is responsible originally for both of these properties, Ninja High
Yep.
School and Gold Digger. Ninja High School is no longer produced. Gold Digger still is, but I don't believe Ben Dunn is doing it anymore.
Okay.
But way back in the hinterlands of both of these series, they met because um, I'm sorry, Gold Diggers by Fred Perry. I apologize.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Fred Perry is still doing that. So that's
Yeah.
but Ben Dunn has moved on to other things, I think is why he moved away from Ninja High School.
Yeah.
Antarctic Press. I don't know how many people have heard of Antarctic Press.
Mhm.
Quickly flipping back here to Too Much Coffee Man. I believe that originally came out through Fantagraphics, but
Yes.
I
Yeah, I
don't
think you're right.
I
Yeah.
don't see it here. Probably tells us somewhere in the description, but I think that definitely strikes me as a Fantagraphics kind of thing. Um,
Yeah. He's really
Ninja High
short
School.
with the description. There's literally nothing there, which kind of makes
Probably
sense.
you know Too Much Coffee Man, or you don't. It's not a sell thing. It's a
Yeah.
here it is for those who want to get it kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But Ninja High School and Gold Digger both came out of Antarctic Press, who is
Mhm.
still going now. As I said, Gold Digger is still going, but I might have read somewhere that Fred Perry's wanting to bring that to a close. But
I
don't
mean, it's
don't
been
necessarily
going on since the early 90s,
quote me
so
on that. Well, Ninja High School started in '87. It says here, and Gold Digger in '91.
oh, geez, yeah.
So there you go. And this is a mini series where the two properties met. Um, I don't know if it has ever been reprinted in collected edition or not since it came out. If it has, this is one of the few times that you have ever had a chance to get that reprinted. Antarctic Press isn't necessarily big on the reprinting, trade paperback, all of that kind of stuff. A lot of their stuff is first run kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I was trying to scroll through this to see if they actually say that or not.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't see
I
anything.
hadn't seen it yet. What I was also looking for is page count too, so it's over
125.
125.
Yeah,
So
you got that too.
so
Then
you
of
get the
course there's going to
soft.
be all kinds of add-ons and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
So I'm assuming, it says the entire saga.
yeah, this says
Um,
volume 1 and 2, so it's reprinting both crossovers.
yeah.
They've crossed over twice.
So I'll have up to 8 of these textbooks.
Softcover
So,
only, hardcover only, softcover
I
side. Yeah,
mean,
so
for
here
125 bucks or pages 25 and 35, that's not
that's
bad.
not no, that's not plus whatever stretch goals, which
Yeah.
what is this 3 times over? Oh no, 6 times over. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if they're doing stretch goals or not. I don't see any listed on this
Yeah, I didn't see any
entry.
either.
So
Yeah.
this may be another case of they have it. They just want to know how many to send out, kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
risk and
this,
challenges. Yeah,
yeah, it says March 2023. So yeah, it's
yeah.
not, that's not too much later. I mean, they've got it probably just looking to see how many to print, really,
Hmm.
if that. I mean,
Now, both of these, the Too Much Coffee Man and this crossover reprint, may show up in previews. It's hard to say.
Mhm.
It may not. This may be the only way to get a hold of it. So,
Yeah.
I know that I have seen people make reference to, well, they passed on a particular Kickstarter because they know it'll show up in previews,
Right.
which there is always that chance, yes, but uh, there is that chance that no, that won't happen. Um, one of the ones that I'm looking at also is called Reign of the Bastard Queen, and it's by a company called Skeletal Press. I don't
Mhm.
know that Skeletal Press will ever show up in previews. So, this may be the only way to get a hold of it. You run that chance with this kind of the collected, the trades, the bigger offerings. This may be the only way to do it, but for 20 and $30 for 100 plus pages on both of those projects.
Yeah.
I think, and I definitely wanted to highlight those two because it's taking much older material and bringing it to new eyes, that
Mhm.
may not be familiar with it. A lot of these other links that I sent you, Chris, are brand new concepts. So,
Yeah.
you know, um,
This is a good one,
mhm.
to jump on as far as, like, sort of, veteran creators working together,
Yeah. Now
creating a
this one
new
I did.
universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one I did take advantage of. So I
Yeah.
I said I don't back big name creators. Well, I recognize all those names and I backed this.
Yeah.
But I backed it because the concept is that how this turns out is um, the people who buy this will then be involved in picking which of these four comics advances first. As far as I think all of these are okay. Let me take a step back. Today I listened to an interview of DeMatteis
Oh, okay.
by uh, comic. Oh, who is it that does it? He does weekly DC reviews in one show, and then he comes back the next day and does an all other review show
Oh,
for books that Comic Source.
okay.
I believe it's the gentleman that does Comic Source, and he has started interviewing people who have Kickstarters, and his most recent episode or his most recent interview episode was DeMatteis on this project,
Okay.
and all of these are scheduled for 4 issues. The way that this turns out, Kickstarter will determine which of those 4 books gets 4 issues first.
Hmm.
Printed. Now, this I expect that he will put out through somebody, and they will end up on in previews at some point. Um, whether it's under the name of the company or somebody else, he sells it to somebody else to publish or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but knowing the people involved and everything, I would say this ultimately will show up in previews probably next year sometime.
Yeah. It sounds, because I remember either you or somebody, maybe it was just the newsletter that I saw, but this sounds very, very interesting. Um, and I like the idea of the backers being involved, about, because
Mhm.
what you're getting in this is the first, like, was it the first issues of everything in,
Uh,
like, a trade paperback or something?
you can either get the first 4 individual issues, or you can get the first 4 issues put together in a trade.
Okay, so all right, so you're getting each of these. Okay, so issue one, $12. These are for the PDFs. And then you get the PDF and the printed copy for 15 for each of these. And then you can get the digital with all four for 45. I guess the printed with a pledge of $50 or more, you can get the printed copies of all four, and um, then it kind of goes up from there. Still looks like the early bird stuff is still available. Limited
Let's
26 left of 250.
That's what it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, that's what it sounds like.
And this one just started. This has. Well, no, it
Yeah.
didn't. This was
No, this
13.
has been
Could
yeah,
not
it's
have
been around for
fulfilled.
a while. Yeah. So, and again, there's retailer stuff down here, and then it's the big dollar stuff.
These are 4
Uh,
times over goal.
yeah. So I stay away from all this stuff down here because it just makes me
I'm not a
it,
retailer, and I
it
can't
makes me
afford that.
it makes me wish I had more money to spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is $40,000. I mean 40,000 total. 30. Four, like you said, 4 times over what their goal was. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's just
That's good. It'll stay around. Um, Now I did want, just for kicks and giggles, because you did send me a link to it. Um, Boom
yeah.
Studios doing another Kickstarter.
Oh, man.
Now the Giant Days one was cool that they just finished. They were just wrapped up. I didn't.
No,
I didn't back it. I
I didn't
didn't
either.
want to back it because I would just. I didn't need to have a box set kind of deal. I can just go buy the trades for it whenever I want to. Um, I'll go buy it right now. Um, but I didn't. It just didn't call out to me. Dark Crystal 40th Anniversary Library calls out to
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's stupid expensive for
Yeah,
me, for me at least.
it
Um,
calls out at quite a high price.
yeah. So what this is 7 volumes. Um,
Ultimately, I don't think all 7 volumes are like comics. I think there's a couple other volumes of things thrown in there with it.
So one volume is this 12 issue series, The Creation Myths. The next one is Age of Resistance, which is the 12 issue miniseries, which just finished up in the last year or two.
Mhm.
Yeah, but then you get Power of the Dark Crystal 1 through 12 in a volume, and then Beneath the Dark Crystal 1 through 12. Um, and then you get this artist tribute version or book. Again, only limited or only available above tier 3. Same thing with the illustrated novel above
Only
tier 4.
available tier 4, yeah.
So if you want to get everything, you have to be in tier 4. And so just to kind of tell you what tier 4 is, tier 4 is the 300. Is it the 350?
Yeah, I believe it's 350.
Oh, no, you can get the digital for 150, and
Okay.
that's all of them, but to get the actual hardcover sets, 275. If you want the box set, that's 350, and the box set comes with the collector's box, which is not just a piece of cardboard, it's actually, got a magnetic top to it. They put a little effort into it. Um, the sound of this looks awesome to me. If I had the extra cash, I would definitely um, back this, at least on a digital side. Um, but that's why I was looking for those hard covers downstairs. I was like, I know I have 2 of these, at least 2. I think I have 3. Um, but 2 of these, this is the first time they've ever been put in a hardcover. So
Mhm.
it may just be the first 2 that I have. So, but either way, um, it sounds like a great collection to have. Um, and so this sort of, and again, it's all through Archaea, really, which I really need to go back and get some more Archaea stuff. Now, one thing, reason I show this is, okay, their goal is 25,000. They're 140,000. They're going to continue to go higher than
Yep.
that.
Mhm. Yep, yep.
17 days left. I would be shocked if this wasn't double this by the time we ended at 300. Um, but what I wanted to do is point out a quick thing that I told Ed before the show. Yesterday, I listened to a conversation, one of the Twitter Spaces. If you're aware what that is, it was about Kickstarter and stuff, and they actually had uh, uh, a lady who was or who is works for Kickstarter. She's I forget what her title is, but she's someone who knows a lot of stuff within Kickstarter. And one of the things that she shared was some statistics, and I'll have them. I'm not going to remember exact. I don't remember exactly what they are, but as far as like down to the percentage or decimal point or whatever. But one of the things that she said in a complaint that I heard when Boom first got into Kickstarter with Berserker was, and this is also with other larger name people who get into it on not just in comics but other fields too, um, that there is that they're stealing are going to take away people's support, other people's support, so they shouldn't be here. From what this lady who works at Kickstarter said was that that particular Kickstarter, the Berserker one, 40-ish percent, a little more than 40% of those folks that backed it were first time Kickstarter users. Like they started an account to back Berserker. So that's 40%. And I think, what did we see the number was, like over 14,000?
I think, let me look here real quick. It was 14,500.
Yeah. So over 14,000 people join, and 40%, over 40% of those are first time Kickstarter users or backers. What the significance of that is that 40 to 50% of that percentage, the new people, went on to back more things after that. And so what these bigger sort of campaigns do is that not only do they bring the regular Kickstarter users back, is that they're bringing in new people. And while, yes, not all of those new people go on to back more stuff, but they do bring in a couple of thousand new users who are going to explore the website to find out what else is here for them to support and back.
Right.
And so I think at the end of the day, those kind of things are big wins for everybody who's involved. Um, that, that's me looking, from the outside in. That could be different from people who are involved in have their own campaigns on Kickstarter while these other these larger names are going on. But there was a um, 50, 60 people that were in this Twitter space. Most of them were people who were running campaigns, who have run multiple campaigns on Kickstarter. Not a single one of them disagreed that these larger, like Boom, like Keanu Reeves, doesn't help them in the long run. And so that was kind of an interesting thing for me, again, sort of just as a backer, to know that that they're seeing these kind of analytics. So something like Dark Crystal's 40th anniversary, Boom Archaea really has had a long-standing relationship with Jim Henson Studios, that whole thing with all of their comics and everything. So there's more than likely going to be a lot of folks who are Jim Henson fans seeing this, hearing about this in the next 2 weeks, that they'll become Kickstarter users for the first time.
Right.
And I'm curious on the things that they'll back beyond
They'll
that.
come back and start looking around for other Dark Crystal, other Jim Henson, other stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
I wanted to sort of point that out of, it's not all the big guys like this are not all bad. I'm sure there's some complaints that I can't relate to when it comes to that, but that's okay. So, and then Doug, sorry, Doug, I didn't see your comment, but yeah, the Dark Crystal one looks amazing. So if anybody wants to give me anything for my birthday, there you go.
Yeah, right. couple quick comments.
Sure.
Hyper, you're right. Those Kickstarter collections from Antarctic Press stuff have not been on previews, and I don't believe they will. I believe a lot of these for Antarctic Press has said that they won't offer them, that this is the only way to get it now.
Okay.
Of course, they can always go back against that, whatever.
Oh,
it's
sure.
their prerogative. But so far, that has been the case. Doug, and I wish, I don't know. Of Chris would be better equipped to address this. Several episodes of Boom Addiction, we've talked about these Dark Crystal books,
Hmm.
but I don't know how easy they would be to find for an
Yeah.
unaffiliated person to go look. So I wish I could point you episode,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if that's possible because I don't believe they're all indexed in that way to be able to do that.
No, and they're not. And we
So
didn't, like
even the
the
title of the show or the description might not necessarily have that
yeah.
information in it because Google SEO was not the kind of stuff that was
No,
on our minds and
no,
it's
it
still not
wasn't.
on my mind when I do
Yeah.
entries for podcasts. I just I don't have that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
just
I
just to
understand
be
that.
honest, optimization for search engines is not
Yeah.
top of mind. But
We
yeah,
did do some conversations about some of those issues, especially
has
um
the fire one, the first
yeah.
that introduced the fire elves. They're not
Yeah.
elves, but the fire creatures. Um, yeah, I know we talked about the first several issues of that one
Mhm.
because I can remember as it was coming out. But yeah, anyways, you should go back and listen to all the episodes of Boom Addiction, anyways, because they're all really good,
They are.
and they talk about a lot of good stuff, and
Yeah.
it's very focused. It's all Boom, so it's easy to find if you want to find
Yep.
it. So
Should start at the very, very beginning because
yes.
we did some really good interviews, I felt.
Oh yeah.
Um, so
Volume one. Yeah.
yeah, that's when that was peak interview time. We got we kind of got really busy lives after that.
We were
We had
young
busy
and
lives
yeah.
then, but yeah, we were like, we're fine. It'll be all right. We can miss this thing. We can
We
reschedule that
made it
thing.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but all right, well that's it. Long episode, but I think we
Good
had some good.
episode though.
Yeah.
Full of
Oh,
stuff, man.
loved this conversation. So appreciate everybody who hung out with us tonight. Those of you who will be listening to the episode, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. So you can come by the website comicaddiction.net. You can email us at comicaddiction the arrogance of youth. That
Wow.
is more true than you would expect.
Wow.
You can email us at comic addiction podcast at gmail.com. The old email address was comicbookaddict at gmail.com. You can still email that one. That's fine. You can follow us, the show, on Twitter at Comic Addiction. You can follow Ed at Teal Productions. You can follow me at Chris Parton. Twitter is the best place to get in touch with us. You can just tweet us directly or send DMs, whichever. And we'll probably get back to you a lot faster than we will with emails. Now, if you tweet us and go, "Hey, I sent you an email," okay, well, be a little slower to get to the email, but at least we'll know. So, come by the forums, which are found at
Freeform.
justanothefamboy.freeforums. Yeah, freeforums.net. I was like, freeforums, is that right?
Yep.
Freeforums.net. Come by if you're a stickler for Boom stuff. Ed is running the fans of Boom Studios over on Facebook, sharing all of the links and stuff about Boom Studios, not just what Boom is sharing, but a lot of other places too. So come by and check all that stuff out. If you do follow Boom Addiction on Twitter, I apologize. I've gotten a little comment happy with that, and and started doing commentary
Yep.
on things. But yeah, you can follow us over there too. But that's about it. So yeah, full episode. Not entirely sure what's on the slate for next episode, but I do want to let you know there is a next episode next week. So that'll be exciting. So Ed, as always, thank you for joining me,
Yes, sir.
and we will catch all of you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, folks.
Thanks for a great show. I hope you have a good night too, Doug. Hyper, thanks for joining us, and everybody else who is hiding,
Lurking.
lurking. I appreciate y'all for listening and hanging out with us this long. Again, super long episode, but I think at least we had a good time. So, so
Yep.
I am an older man, and so I am yawning. So I'm doing my best to do this.
To
And
stifle it.
yeah, it was difficult. I kept trying to sip my drink just to kind of keep it down. But so I was not bored by any stretch for this episode, but I was definitely feeling the tiredness. So. But we're going to go ahead and sign off here from Twitter and YouTube. So, again, thank y'all for checking us out, and we'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.
Ciao.